Chapter 1299. Mu Xingyun's assassination skills were indeed too profound. Even Jiang Chun would be on tenterhooks when facing Mu Xingyun. He was deeply afraid that he would be assassinated one day. Now that Mu Xingyun had made his move, Xiao Qi and Tian Yumingwu were even more frightened. They did not dare to fight him head-on. Of course, this did not mean that the two of them were weak. It was just that this was the fog forest, which was full of unknown dangers. Moreover, there were a few great virtuous beings and the three holy sons of the demon clans beside them. If they really fought with Mu Xingyun, once others found the opportunity, they would definitely be in big trouble. I say, weren't the two of you very powerful just now? You were so arrogant. How did you become cowards now? Mu Xingyun sneered. Come out, let's fight head-on. I won't use my assassination skills. Mu Xingyun, do you think we will believe you? Xiao Qi said coldly. Although his array was powerful, he did not want to be stabbed in the back. One should know that he and Tian Yumingwu were sworn enemies. If he fought with Mu Xingyun, Tian Yumingwu might stab him in the back. Kill. Suddenly, Di San flashed out. He was already extremely unhappy. Now that he saw the opportunity, he rushed in front of Tian Yumingwu. With a palm strike, the palm print was like a jade seal, bringing with it an earth-shaking aura. Boom! There was an explosion. Tian Yumingwu's attention was focused on Mu Xingyun. Naturally, he did not notice Di San. He did not have time to react before he was hit by Di San's palm strike. His entire body flew out. However, this palm strike was nothing to Tian Yumingwu. After all, Di San was seriously injured and his strength was not at its peak. This palm strike could not kill Tian Yumingwu. Di San, today, even if I don't want a jade seal, I will kill you. Tian Yumingwu roared angrily and stood up from afar. His aura exploded and colorful fog rose in his eyes. Chi! However, before he could make a move, a huge killing array descended and instantly enveloped Tian Yumingwu. Xiao Qi. Tian Yumingwu roared angrily. Previously, the two of them were still working together. Who would have thought that once they revealed a flaw, this Xiao Qi would immediately make a move? Tian Yumingwu, you should be wary of me, Xiao Qi said mockingly. Her big hand pressed down in the air, and the great killing array was activated. Endless sharpness instantly drowned Tian Yumingwu. Puff! However, before Xiao Qi could be happy for long, a muffled sound came from behind him. He looked down and saw a pitch-black dagger piercing through his back. Fresh blood dripped down from the wound. You should also be wary of me. Mu Xingyun's voice came from behind Xiao Qi. When his voice fell, he was already far away from Xiao Qi. Xiao Qi was furious, but she didn't dare to chase after him. She could only hold back her anger and set up layers of formations on the spot. Then, she began to heal herself. Boom! After a few breaths, the distant god array and the sky-moon covering sky technique were broken. A few virtuous demons and the three saints of the demon clans rushed out. When they saw the injured Xiao Qi and Tian Yumingwu, who was trapped in the great killing array, they were all stunned. In such a short time, too many things had happened. They didn't even have time to react. Let's go! All of a sudden, Jian Dade exclaimed in surprise. He dashed over. He grabbed Jiang Chun with his left hand and lifted the heavily injured Di San with his right hand. He bit Tian Shui's clothes and ran away without looking back. Everyone else was stunned for a moment, and their expressions changed drastically. This was because the evil spirit king bell not far away had been rung. Waves of demonic sounds could be heard, and everyone's souls were trembling. No one had rung the evil spirit king bell. It had moved by itself. Yao Dade turned around and saw a strange creature standing in front of the evil spirit king bell. It was Snow White, had 5 eyes for legs and 6 arms, and was looking at them with a smile. Artifact spirit. It has gained intelligence. She wants to rung the evil spirit king bell and take our souls. Yao Dade's face was pale. He had also heard of the story of the evil spirit king bell. This thing was very evil. However, this was the fog forest. It was easy to enter, but difficult to leave. After running for a distance, everyone realized that they had lost their way. Even Jiang Chun and the rest had been separated from the few day deities. Looking at the unfamiliar surroundings, Jiang Chun smiled bitterly and asked, "Is there any way to get out?" "Get out? Let's survive first," Jian Dade said unhappily. He put down Jiang Chun and Di San, then glanced at Tian Shui and said, "How did you get injured like this?" "She was also in the seventh city. When I found her, she had already been injured by the people of the true Heaven tribe." Di San explained, "If it weren't for the fact that you saved me, I wouldn't have bothered to save her." "Thank you," Jiang Chun said solemnly. If it weren't for Di San, Tian Shui would have really died this time. But now, an even more serious problem was placed in front of them. The fog forest was originally full of danger. Now, with the addition of the evil spirit King Bell, if they were trapped here, it would be disastrous. "How did you survive these days?" Jiang Chun suddenly looked at Di San and asked curiously. Di San had been in the fog forest for a few days, but he was still alive. This could be considered a miracle. "There is an ancient site. I stayed there before, so it was very safe." Di San said, "If I hadn't been alarmed by the evil spirit King Bell and came out to see what had happened, I would still be there now." However, although there were ancient sites in the fog forest, they didn't know the direction. It was too difficult to return to the ancient site. "Take your time and be careful," Jiang Chun sighed. The most important thing now was to be careful. As for other things, he couldn't force them. He just hoped that they wouldn't encounter any danger and wouldn't encounter the evil spirit King Bell. Half a day later, the group of people went around in circles in the fog forest. In the end, the group of people turned pale because they had returned to their original place. Looking around, the evil spirit King Bell had disappeared, leaving only a large pit on the ground. At the same time, Xiaoke Ai and Tian Yuming Wu had also disappeared. It was unknown if they were dead or if they had escaped. Fortunately, the evil spirit King Bell is not here. Otherwise, Jiang Chun sighed. However, just as he finished speaking, he felt a chill on his back, as if something terrifying was staring at him. Jiang Chun's first reaction was to think that he had been targeted by the evil spirit King Bell. When he turned around, he found nothing. However, Jiang Chun's intuition told him that just now, there was definitely a living creature staring at him, especially on Jiang Chun's back. On the back of his neck, that cold feeling was still there. "Boss, what's wrong with your neck?" Jian Dade let out a strange cry and stared at the back of Jiang Chun's neck. There was actually a red lipstick mark on it. Jiang Chun formed a seal and reflected the back of his neck. When he saw the red lipstick mark, he was completely dumbfounded. That cold feeling just now. Was he being kissed by someone? Chapter 1300. A red lipstick mark shocked Jiang Chun so much that his face turned pale. He couldn't even speak properly. He didn't see any living creatures at all. He only felt a chill on his back. Why was there a red lipstick mark? Female ghost? A perverted female ghost? Jian Dade muttered. He touched his cheek and said, "She shouldn't have kissed you. She should have kissed me." Jiang Chun rolled his eyes. "What were you thinking at this time? By the way, did you see something behind me?" At this moment, Di San's face turned pale. He also felt a chill on the back of his neck, but he didn't feel any living creatures. "You, turn around and look." Jiang Chun looked strange. When Di San turned around, there was a red lipstick mark on the back of his neck. No, to be precise, it was a black lipstick mark. Before Di San could exclaim, Jian Dade's face turned gloomy. He said angrily, "What? You don't like me? I'm Sword Tao Hua. You kissed him and not me." "Ouch!" Jian Dade exclaimed. He touched the back of his neck and turned around to ask, "Is there a lipstick mark on the back of my neck too?" Di San and Jiang Chun nodded. They told Jian Dade that the lipstick mark on the back of his neck was purple. "Why do I feel strange?" Jiang Chun was the first one who didn't kiss. At this moment, he felt a slight change in his body. The divine power in his body was quietly flowing away, as if it was being sucked away. His whole body seemed to be leaking. He couldn't control the loss of divine power at all. After a few breaths, Di San and Jian Dade's faces changed. They also felt their divine power slowly flowing away. The speed of the loss of divine power wasn't very fast. But at this rate, their divine power would be exhausted in a day at most. "There's something wrong with this lipstick mark," Jian said in a low voice. He wiped the lipstick mark hard, but it was like a brand that couldn't be wiped off. "Aren't you talking nonsense? Everyone knows that there's a problem with the lip print," Jiang Chun said snappily. Unfortunately, he had used the undying bird's inextinguishable fire, the Emperor's Vine, and even the myriad transformations' heavenly lamp and the chaotic chi, but he still could not get rid of the lipstick mark on his neck. This was too strange. It's too strange. Even the myriad transformations' heavenly lamp and chaotic chi can't get rid of it. If this is a curse, it won't be able to stop the purification of the myriad transformations' heavenly lamp and the chaotic chi, Jiang Chen said solemnly. "Is it some kind of brand?" D. San frowned. There were many types of imprints. Some imprints, once planted, would be difficult to purify in one's entire life. Perhaps they had already become the servants of some living being. Thinking of this, D. San's face became even uglier. His eyes were bright as he looked around and roared, "Who is it? Come out!" However, the surroundings were quiet, and no one responded at all. "Hurry up and think of a way out. This place is too creepy." Jian Dade also panicked. Even though he had grown up in the Great Thousand Mine, he also felt that this place was very scary. However, it was easy to enter the misty forest, but it was harder to get out. If they could not find the right way out, they would not be able to get out at all. "Let's continue to search," Jiang Chen sighed. Now, they could only rely on guessing. If they guessed correctly, they could still get out. If they guessed wrongly, they could just stay here and wait for death. Just like this, they started to move again. Jiang Chen carried Tian Shui on his back and started to wander around the misty forest again. Half a day later, Jiang Chen and the others came to the side of a lake in a daze. There was not a single ripple on the surface of the lake. It was as if it was still. Even the wind could not cause a ripple. The surroundings were terrifyingly quiet, as if it was a land of death. However, when they arrived here, the three of them could clearly feel that the divine power in their bodies was no longer flowing out. It seemed to have stopped. However, the lipstick mark on the back of their necks was still there. "It's here!" Decent became excited and said, "It's this ancient site. Previously, I stayed here and did not encounter any danger." After saying this, he pointed to a pavilion beside the lake and said, "Let's go there. I stayed there before." However, as soon as he finished speaking, D. San's face suddenly changed, and his eyes were filled with horror. This was because there was a white-clothed living being standing in the pavilion. That living being had waist-length hair, with its back facing them. They could not see whether it was a man or a woman. What is this? Could it be a living being from the misty forest? The few of them panicked. If this living being really came from the misty forest, then they had to be careful. "You're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time, my battle generals." Suddenly, the living being in the pavilion spoke. At the same time, it slowly turned around. A flawless face appeared in front of Jiang Chun and the others. Even though Jiang Chun had seen many beautiful women before, he was still stunned at this moment. Jiang Chun even wondered if such a woman really existed in this world. Her figure and appearance were flawless. It was as if she was the most perfect woman in the world. At this moment, the woman smiled like a spring breeze. Looking at Jiang Chun and the others, she waved her hand and said, "Come here. I mean no harm." However, even though she said this, how could Jiang Chun and the others dare to go over? Moreover, Jiang Chun was very confused. Previously, this woman had called them battle generals. "First, tell us who you are," Jiang Chun said in a low voice. Although this woman was flawless and beautiful, Jiang Chun would not be blinded by her beauty. "I am your general," the woman said. As the woman spoke, she slowly raised her arm and extended a slender finger. She pointed at the surroundings and said, "This is the battlefield where I fought back then, and I am the general of this battlefield." "Battlefield? The rumor is true? This place used to be a battlefield?" Decent said softly. Then, he asked doubtfully, then why are we battle generals? You have my brand, the woman said. Hearing this, Jiang Chun and the others' expressions became strange. They touched the back of their necks. Was that lip print a brand? Now, they had become this woman's battle generals? That's nice to say, battle generals. To put it bluntly, we have become her servants. Jian Dade's face darkened. He pointed the long sword in his hand at the woman and shouted angrily, Do you know where you are from? I am from the Great Thousand Mine. Oh, then you must be an old comrade. Unexpectedly, this woman was not frightened by the name of the Great Thousand Mine. Instead, her eyes revealed a look of reminiscence and emotion. Then, she waved her hand. Jiang Chun and the others' bodies floated uncontrollably toward the pavilion. Even though Jiang Chun and the others struggled with all their might, it was difficult for them to break free from the power that was supporting them. Little big sister, let's talk things out. Can you remove the imprints on our bodies first? Jiang Chun spoke first. His mouth was as if he had eaten honey. After all, it was not a bad thing to have a sweet mouth outside. Chapter 1301. After he called her sister, the woman slapped him directly. Jiang Chun did not even have the chance to react before he was slapped to the ground. Jiang Chun was dumbfounded. Could it be that it was useless to be a little sweet these days? Call me general, the woman said seriously. From now on, you are my generals, and I am your general. Don't mess up the relationship. When Jiang Chun heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched. He thought to himself that he had reincarnated 10 times, and his identity was not ordinary. Now, he was going to become this woman's general? What was the difference between this and a servant? However, after Jiang Chun was slapped, he understood that the strength of this woman, who could be said to be perfect, was definitely not something he could deal with. If she wanted to, she might even be able to kill him with one look. Bear with it. A real man will not bicker with a woman like me. Jiang Chun thought to himself. After he stood up from the ground, he asked, That, General, is there anything you need us to do? My weapon ran away. You go and catch it, the woman said. Then she pointed 2 fingers at the space between Jiang Chun and D. San's eyebrows. In an instant, a map appeared in their minds. There was a mark on the map, and that mark was most likely the position of the woman's weapon. General, why did your weapon run away? D. San asked doubtfully. It was damaged before, and then it was nurtured here. In the end, it gained intelligence and ran away, the woman explained. You can go. I will take care of her. After saying this, the woman directly pulled Tian Shui to her side. Then she looked at Jiang Chun and D. Sin calmly and said, You are my generals. This is your first mission, so you must make a military order. If you can't bring back my weapon, you will lose your lives. How could Jiang Chun and D. San be willing to make a military order? Wouldn't they be digging their own graves? However, before the 2 of them could react, 2 military orders appeared in front of them. Then, a powerful force erupted from the woman. She forced Jiang Chun and D. San to sign a military order. At this moment, Jiang Chun and D. San were in complete despair. He was already in despair after being branded. Now he was even given a military order. What the hell? Hurry up and go, before he breaks free from my brand. His strength is still limited, the woman reminded. At this moment, Jiang Chun and D. San did not dare to be negligent. They rushed toward the coordinates. With the coordinates, Jiang Chun and D. San would not get lost. They even knew how to get out of the foggy forest. However, they were clearly aware that even if they left the misty forest, they wouldn't be able to escape the woman's grasp. Moreover, Tian Shui was still in that woman's hands. Damn it, how can there be such a creature in the dense fog forest? Although she's very good-looking, this is really intolerable. Jiang Chun, Jian Dade, and D. San were unhappy. At the same time, they were also a little flustered. They could feel that the woman was too powerful. She was definitely a big shot from prehistory, especially Jian Dade. He had met the owner of the Great Thousand Graveyard. He knew how powerful those big shots from prehistory were. The aura of the woman was the same as the aura of the owner of the Great Thousand Graveyard. It definitely came from prehistory. Such a big shot was not someone they could compete with. By the way, did she say what her weapon was? After half an hour, when they arrived at the coordinates, the three of them completely collapsed. Jiang Chen asked in a daze. All the hair on his body stood up, because at the coordinates there was an ancient bell as black as ink. In front of the ancient bell, there was a strange creature sitting quietly with its legs crossed. Obviously, the woman's weapon was the evil spirit king bell. Oh my God! I'm afraid the three of us together are not enough to fill the gaps between the evil spirit king bell's teeth. Cold sweat dripped down Jian Dade's forehead. Even though he was standing far away, he could feel the aura of the evil spirit king bell. It was simply too terrifying. I'm still in the Imperial realm. Don't worry too much, Decent said in a low voice. But I'm not in my best condition now. My strength has been greatly reduced. We have to think about it at length, Jiang Chen said in a low voice. Then Jiang Chen and the rest concealed their auras. Decent started to adjust his breath and heal his injuries. The Sword Wave Flower was contacting Yao Dade, hoping to merge with him. As for Jiang Chen, he started to set up a formation secretly. In this way, the three of them did their own things. The plan seemed to be orderly. One day later, Desan's injuries were basically healed. Jian Dade also contacted Yao Dade. The two of them were originally one. Soon, Yao Dade found Jian Dade. As for Jiang Chen, he had also deployed several great killing formations around the evil spirit King Bell in the same day, and he had set up more than 100 restraining wards. When everything was ready, the few of them took a step forward and arrived before the weapon spirit of the evil spirit King Bell. Your master asked us to take you back. Jiang Chen stared at the evil spirit King Bell with a dignified expression. Desan and Jian Dade were the same. They were tense and did not dare to be careless. Master? Oh, how many people in this world are qualified to be my master? The evil spirit King Bell's evil spirit King Bell said disdainfully. She and I are both prehistoric creatures. If she can be a general, why can't I be a king? Buzz! The moment he finished speaking, an extremely evil and bloodthirsty aura exploded. At the same time, a bell rang. It was soul-stirring. The sound of the bell spread out like ripples. Wherever it passed, the void exploded. Even the enchantment set up by Jiang Chen collapsed. Rise! At this moment, Jiang Chen did not dare to be careless. He directly activated the array. Several killing arrays fell and trapped the evil spirit King Bell. Then, the divine light in the sky turned into a sharp light and drowned the evil spirit King Bell. The enchantment and prohibition enchantment were also opened. Brilliant lights fell like the Milky Way and like a group of stars falling. The place became gorgeous. However, after only 3 breaths, an intimidating bell rang. The array, enchantment, and prohibition enchantment collapsed in an instant. Even Jiang Chen was affected. His mind was unstable. His face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. No, we can only fight with brute force, Jiang Chen said in a low voice. The Emperor's Vine, the immortal bird, and the ever-changing heavenly lamp all came out. The dragon tiger's shadow rose from his body, and his blood chi soared to the sky like a blood cloud. At this moment, Decen rushed out and attacked Wang Zhong with Jian Dade, one in front and one behind. You're just an ordinary person. How dare you challenge me? The evil spirit King Bell's evil spirit King Bell's evil spirit King Bell said disdainfully. Black ripples spread out. The sound of the bell was even more ear-piercing. Chapter 1302. As the bell rang, it spread out like ripples. Wherever it passed, the void collapsed, and the sound of ghosts crying could be heard. Jiang Chen and the rest of them were shocked. They could not take any action at all. They had used all their divine powers to block the bell chimes. Ordinary people, do you know the difference between you and me? The King Evil Spirit Bell said disdainfully. The bell chimes became louder, and the ripples became turbulent. They kept attacking Jiang Chen and the rest of them. At that moment, Jiang Chen did not dare to hesitate. He formed a seal with both of his hands, and a teleportation formation appeared under his feet. Then, the group stepped into the teleportation formation and left the place. Phew, this thing is too evil. It is too powerful. This weapon is not only intelligent, but its cultivation level is also terrifyingly high. After a few breaths, Jiang Chen and the rest of them were teleported into a withered forest. Their faces were pale, and their foreheads were covered in cold sweat. Jiang Chen still had lingering fears. If he had been a little slower, they might have died there. We have made a military pledge. If we can't suppress the King Evil Spirit Bell, we will also die, Jiang Chen said. This was the most troublesome part. However, with their current strength, it was impossible for them to suppress the King Evil Spirit Bell. Even if they used all their means, they would not be a match for the King Evil Spirit Bell. The difference in their combat strength was too great. We have to call for help, Jian Dade said. It is impossible for the few of us to do it. However, they were in the fog forest. Where could they call for help? Do you think, if Tian Yuming Wu, Xiaoke AI, and the rest of them help us, we will have a chance to suppress the King Evil Spirit Bell? Jiang Chun squinted his eyes, and there was light in his eyes. After he said that, Di San, Jian Dade, and the rest of them had strange expressions. Asked Tian Yuming Wu and Xiaoke AI to help them? Was that possible? Besides, where would he find them in this dense fog forest? I have an idea. After a few breaths, Jiang Chen's eyes lit up. He stood up and led the group toward the lake. Half an incense stick of time later, Jiang Chen and his group returned. When they saw the woman in the pavilion, their hearts jumped. You're back? Did you bring my weapon back? The woman asked softly. She was neither happy nor angry. No one could guess what she was thinking. We're not strong enough. Let's find a few more people, Jiang Chen said. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone could clearly sense a trace of divine power fluctuation from this woman's body. She seemed to be angry. However, she did not attack Jiang Chen and the others. Instead, she asked, looking for someone? Who is he looking for? Don't tell me you want me to personally deal with such a small matter? No. We're not the only ones entering the misty forest this time. There are a few others as well. Jiang Chen hurriedly said, What I mean is, why don't you take them in as well? When the time comes, we can go together and suppress the evil spirit king clock and bring it to you. When the woman heard this, she did not speak. She seemed to be thinking about it. After a few breaths, she nodded slowly. A doppelganger appeared from her body and then disappeared from the spot. After a few breaths, a strong wind blew around the lake. Then, the woman's doppelganger returned. She also brought Tianyu, Mingwu, Xiaoku AI, and Mu Xingyun. The three of them were on their last breaths. It was obvious that they had fought with the woman's doppelganger. In the end, they were defeated. Why are you here? At this moment, Mu Xingyun, who was lying on the ground, asked half-dead. This is our general. We're now working for her. Jiang Chen said with a faint smile. At the same time, he walked to Mu Xingyun and the others. When he saw the lipstick marks on their necks, Jiang Chen could not help but laugh. Boss, you're really sinister. Jian Dade had a wicked smile on his face. He knew what Jiang Chen was trying to do. Wasn't he trying to trick Mu Xingyun and the others? Now, everyone who entered the dense fog forest had become the woman's generals. Everyone will be a family from now on. Jian Dade smiled. His smile was very warm, and he was very happy. Who dares to touch me? Let go of me. Suddenly, a few more voices came from afar. Then, 3 more banana were caught. Furthermore, they had lipstick marks on the back of their necks. This is great. We're all here. Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. He wanted to trick Tianyu, Mingwu, Xiaoke AI, and the others, but he did not expect to trick the banana. This was completely unexpected. Don't resist. She's our boss now. Jiang Chen looked at Tianyu, Mingwu, and the others mockingly and said, We're all family from now on. You're the one who tricked us? How sinister. Shameless. Tianyu, Mingwu, and Xiaoke AI cursed. They were about to find the way out, but who would have thought that they would encounter the woman's doppelganger? Moreover, they could not defeat her. Go and bring the evil spirit king Bell back." At this moment, the woman waved her hand, and pure energy spread out. It was like an elixir of immortality. In an instant, the injuries of Mu Xingyun and the others were healed. After that, she only said a few simple words and did not speak again. "You really tricked us. Brat, we'll settle this score in the future." Half an hour later, Jiang Chen and the others arrived at the vicinity of the evil spirit king Bell, according to the coordinates. Along the way, Tian Yu, Ming Wu, Xiaoku AI, and even Mu Xingyun were cursing. In response, Jiang Chen smiled faintly and allowed them to curse. After all, everyone had lipstick marks on them and were now generals. They were all family. "We'll share blessings and misfortunes." Jiang Chen smiled. As soon as he said that, Jiang Chen and the others could already see the evil spirit king Bell. It was still in its original position, sitting cross-legged, as if it was absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. At the same time, the flames on the bell had mostly disappeared. The bell was almost complete. "What do we do with this thing? Who can defeat it?" Tian Yu, Ming Wu, said angrily. Even from afar, they could feel the terrifying aura from the evil spirit king Bell. "Attack together, fight it to the death," Jiang Chen said straightforwardly. Today, they would either die in the hands of the evil spirit king Bell or be killed by the woman when they returned. They had no choice but to retreat. What bad luck! Meeting you is bad luck in this life. The few of them were furious. Just as they were about to attack, they saw a figure appear in front of the evil spirit king Bell. At this moment, everyone widened their eyes and fixed their gazes on that person. Nian Chang'e? Jiang Chen was stunned. He then recalled that Nian Chang'e should have entered the dense fog forest. However, what was Nian Chang'e trying to do now? He stood in front of the evil spirit king Bell with a calm expression. He was actually communicating with the evil spirit king Bell. The evil spirit king Bell did not attack, but nodded from time to time. The two of them seemed to be friends. Chapter 1303. No one expected that Nian Chang'e could communicate with the Ghost King Clock. Neither of them wanted to fight. Especially in the end, the Ghost King Clock patted Nian Chang'e's shoulder, as if it was very satisfied with the content of their conversation. "What's wrong with your buddy?" D-San was stunned, with a confused look. Not only D-San, but the others were also confused. Even Jiang Chen was a little confused. The Ghost King Clock was known as the most evil weapon, with a strong murderous aura. How could it communicate with Nian Chang'e so peacefully? "You guys, what are you doing?" At this moment, Nian Chang'e found Jiang Chen and the others. She asked with a smile and waved her hand, indicating Jiang Chen and the others to come over. Is it okay for us to come over?" Jiang Chen still had a lingering fear. After all, not long ago, they almost died in the hands of the Ghost King Clock. "It's okay. We are all old acquaintances." Nian Chang'e smiled. Upon hearing this, Jiang Chen and the others were completely dumbfounded. "You and the Ghost King Clock are old acquaintances?" But thinking about it carefully, Jiang Chen also felt that this was normal. After all, Nian Chang'e's identity was not ordinary, and she had many secrets. Some secrets even Jiang Chen did not know. Maybe a long time ago, Nian Chang'e did know the Ghost King Clock. "So you guys are together?" The Ghost King Clock was also stunned. She curled her lips and said, "You guys are lucky that I didn't kill you before. Otherwise, you would have been dead." What's the situation?" D-Sen asked. Tian Yu Ming Wu and Xiaoku AI were also confused. They were even more afraid of Nian Chang'e. They could see that Nian Chang'e and the Ghost King Clock had a good relationship. If Nian Chang'e let the Ghost King Clock attack them, they would only have a dead end. "It's not convenient to talk about the specific situation," Nian Chang'e said softly, and then looked at Jiang Chen and the others with a puzzled look. She seemed to be wondering why Jiang Chen and the others were together. Just a moment ago, this group of people was still shouting about fighting and killing. How come they were now traveling together? "Don't mention it. We were branded by a person who claimed to be a general. Now, we are all her generals." Jiang Chen smiled bitterly and explained to Nian Chang'e. Hearing this, Nian Changa's eyes flashed coldly. He seemed to know who the General Jiang Chen was talking about was. Then, Nian Changa called out the 72 lotuses. Many radiances fell from the lotuses. Jiang Chen and the others were shrouded in them like sacred light. The imprint disappeared? As expected of the 72 lotuses, to have such a remarkable ability, everyone exclaimed. If it weren't for the 72 lotuses, they would still be under the woman's control. Now, since the imprint had disappeared, who cared about the military order anymore? That guy is not to be trifled with, Nian Changa said in a deep voice. That is a prehistoric almighty. Her identity and status are not inferior to the owner of the Great Thousand Graveyard. Even my master would have a headache facing her. What? Jiang Chen was shocked. He knew who Nian Changa's master was. It was the Devil Emperor, also known as Taoist Tantian. He was a very mysterious and powerful existence. He was the lord of the devil realm. How could such a person have a headache when facing that woman? Have you heard of Ji Rumeng? Ghost King Bell asked. Of course, Jiang Chen and the others had not heard of it. After all, they were living creatures in this world and knew very little about prehistoric things. However, when Jian Dade and Yao Dade heard this name, their bodies trembled slightly. A trace of horror and surprise flashed in their eyes. Ji Rumeng? The woman who claimed to be a general is Ji Rumeng? Everlasting war god. Ji Rumeng? Jian Dade and Yao Dade exclaimed. Obviously, they knew the origin of Ji Rumeng. She is Ji Rumeng. After she was defeated, she was sealed here. Ghost King Bell said in a deep voice. Back then, I was sealed here as a suppressor. My main purpose was to suppress her. It's just that as time passed, her condition recovered, and her strength became stronger and stronger. I'm almost unable to seal her anymore. So, I chose to come out and leave before she returns to her peak. Otherwise, I will die too. As soon as this was said, everyone was a little confused. At first, they thought that Ghost King Bell was sealed here. After absorbing the essence of heaven and earth, it gained sentience. Then, it slowly recast its body. But now, it seemed that it was completely different from what they had imagined. Ji Rumeng asked us to capture you. After killing you, she wanted to release her seal? Jiang Chen asked. Nonsense. Do you think she can walk out of the pavilion now? If she could, why would she ask you to do it? Ghost King Bell said in a bad mood. That's right. I felt that something was wrong. So that's the reason. Jiang Chen said in relief. Then, since the imprint was removed, everyone could leave. But Tianxue was still in Ji Rumeng's hands. Can't leave her behind. Jiang Chen sighed. Glancing at everyone a few times, he said softly, You all leave first. I'll think of a way to rescue Tianxue. How are you going to rescue her? If you go back now, it's probably courting death. Jian Dade said in a deep voice. The title of Everlasting War God isn't in vain. Do you know what Ji Rumeng did back then? What? Jiang Chen said in puzzlement. She nearly bathed the great wide world in blood back then. Don't look at how she looks perfect and flawless, a beauty in the making. In reality, her heart is vicious. She's absolutely the #1 female, ruthless person since ancient times. Jian Dade said, If you go back like this, wouldn't she kill you? Bang! Jian Dade had just finished saying these words when the surrounding space suddenly trembled. Following that, several dozen clones appeared. Their appearances were exactly the same as Ji Rumeng. Clearly, Ji Rumeng sensed that the imprint on Jiang Chen and the rest was removed. Now, she was furious and her clones descended. Quickly run! Can't fight with force. At this moment, even the Ghoul King clock was afraid. The mouth of the clock hung down and swept the group of people inside. Immediately, it fled out of the fog forest. But during this process, Jiang Chen broke free and waved to Nian Changa and the rest. He said seriously, I can't leave Tianxue alone. Quickly come back. You're courting death. Come back. Nian Changa and the rest were anxious. However, the Ghoul King clock speed was extremely fast. Just as the voice fell, they fled out of the fog forest. And at this moment, Jiang Chen stood on the spot and looked at those several dozen clones. Stretching out his hand, he said, "I'll stay. With your identity and strength, there's no need to kill me, right? Moreover, I might be able to help you do something." Humph! Several dozen clones snorted coldly at the same time. Under this cold snort, that extremely powerful physical body of Jiang Chen actually directly exploded. "Don't kill me. Let's talk nicely." Jiang Chen hurriedly reconstructed his physical body. Looking at those several dozen clones with a pale face, he hurriedly said, "I know you're sealed here. I have a way to help you escape." Chapter 1304. Jiang Chun was very clear that he was powerless to resist Ji Ruming. Even if he had the strength, he did not dare to resist. After all, Tian Shui was still in Ji Ruming's hands. Evil Spirit King Bell has already escaped. "How are you going to undo my seal?" Ji Ruming's clones asked at the same time. Their voices were very calm, without a trace of anger. Obviously, to Ji Ruming, she had seen too many things and people. She had experienced everything. Her heart was like a rock. There were very few things in the world that could disturb her heart. However, since she asked this, she was obviously very concerned about her seal. "I'm proficient in array formations and restrictions. I'm also quite knowledgeable about sealing techniques. As long as you give me enough time, I'll definitely be able to let you escape." Jiang Chen said. "Oh, how long will it take?" Ji Ruming asked. Hearing this, Jiang Chen shook his head. After all, he did not know how complicated and profound Ji Ruming's seal was. He could not give a clear answer for the time being. However, he told Ji Ruming that this seal could definitely be undone. However, the prerequisite was that Tian Shui could not be harmed. However, Ji Ruming's following words made Jiang Chen dumbfounded. He even regretted it. "This woman is the descendant of an old friend of mine. Do you think I'll harm her?" Ji Ruming said snappily. "The reason why I kept her by my side was because I was worried that she would be injured in the dense fog forest." This, Jiang Chen was speechless. If he had known earlier, he would have run away with Evil Spirit King Bell and the rest. Now that he had stayed behind, he had no way to escape from this place under Ji Ruming's nose. Then, he did not need to care about Tian Shui now. He had better worry about his own life first. After a dozen breaths, Jiang Chen was brought back to the pavilion by dozens of clones. Ji Ruming's back was facing him, and she did not say anything. However, Tian Shui had already woken up. When she saw Jiang Chen, her expression was slightly strange. After hesitating for a while, she said softly, "Greetings to old ancestor." Old ancestor? Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. Why did she call him old ancestor? Although he had reincarnated 10 times, he had yet to recover his memories in this life. Moreover, he had always addressed the people around him as his peers. However, Jiang Chen reacted very quickly. The reason why Tian Shui called him old ancestor was probably because of his relationship with the Empress. At the same time, Jiang Chen also recalled what Ji Ruming had said before. Tian Shui was the descendant of one of her old friends. Then, this old friend, could it be the Empress? Ancestor dreamlike, he is that person. Tian Shui looked at Ji Ruming and explained, "My ancestor personally admitted it." As soon as these words came out, Ji Ruming's body suddenly trembled as if she was shocked. Then, she slowly turned around and carefully observed Jiang Chen. After a few breaths, she softly said, "You really do look a little like him." After saying that, she came in front of Jiang Chen and gently placed her hand on Jiang Chen's glabella. Then, a gentle force entered Jiang Chen's body and directly into his soul. Jiang Chen did not dare to resist at all. However, he quickly realized that Ji Ruming did not have any ill intentions towards him. She was probing Jiang Chen's soul and seemed to be searching for the reason why Jiang Chen had lost his memories. After half an instance's time, a thunderous sound suddenly exploded in the sky. However, no lightning appeared. However, an indescribable and obscure aura pervaded the air and enveloped Ji Ruming. She suddenly retracted her hand and looked up at the sky. Her eyelids drooped slightly, and with a trace of anger, she said, "I see. It's already a taboo." That I can't remember the memories of my previous lives because my soul was injured, right? Jiangchen asked. Back then, Mu Yud and the rest had told Jiangchen that if he wanted to regain his memories, the key was to go to the path of reincarnation. And to enter the path of reincarnation, one had to find the 3 mountains and 5 seas, even the ancient underworld. It was just that back then at the dragon race's ancestral land, Jiangchen forgot about his own matters because of Nian Changa's matter. Your soul wasn't injured, Ji Ruming said in a solemn voice. Looks like the rumors are true. In that battle back then, you lost and had your path of return cut off by someone. What? I lost? Jiang Chun was stunned, somewhat in disbelief. One had to know, Jiang Chun was a powerhouse in his previous lives. Not to say that he was invincible under the heavens, but he could also stand tall between heaven and earth and not fall. Although Jiang Chen's memories were incomplete, he also knew that it was basically impossible for him to be defeated in his previous lives. If you weren't defeated, why did you have to reincarnate 10 times? Ji Ruming said huffily. However, that shouldn't be considered a defeat, but bang! Before she finished talking, an invisible bolt of lightning fell, directly striking Ji Ruming. Clearly, Ji Ruming's words touched a taboo. Humph! Just a mere taboo power. If I really want to speak the truth, what can you do to me? Ji Ruming said in a cold voice. That invisible bolt of lightning landed on her body, but was unable to cause a trace of injury. But she did not continue speaking, because there were still 2 people beside her. She could withstand the taboo power, but Jiang Chun and Tian Shui could not. We're all on the same side, Tian Shui said by the side. Maybe in the eyes of the world, Ancestor Dream Realm is cruel and brutal, but she, my ancestor, and you are all on the same side. This, I don't remember, but since you said so, then we're on the same side, Jiang Chen said. He would not have any doubts about Tian Shui's words. Let me see your seal. Jiang Chen looked at Ji Ruming. After sizing her up, he did not detect any sealing power on Ji Ruming's body. He looked around again and did not see anything special either. This made him very depressed. Could it be that Ji Ruming's seal had been broken? This fog forest is the seal, this lake is the seal, and this pavilion is the seal. Ji Ruming sighed and said, if you want to break the seal, you have to destroy the pavilion, fill up the lake, and collapse this fog forest. What? Jiang Chen exclaimed. After hearing this, his eyes flickered as he stared at the pavilion and the lake. If he looked at them one by one, he would indeed not be able to see the sealing power. But if he looked at the 2 together, he would be able to see strands of dim rune light between the pavilion and the lake. These rune light entangled together and entered the ground, covering the entire fog forest. The pavilion and the lake are the array core of the seal, and this fog forest is the array foundation, Jiang Chun said solemnly. A seal formed by the momentum of heaven and earth. If you want to break it, you have to destroy the momentum of heaven and earth here. Looks like you have some understanding of the art of sealing, Ji Ruming said softly. However, the fog forest was a battlefield in the past. Too many experts had died here. After those experts died, their essence, energy, and even their Tao techniques had settled in the fog forest. After a long time, the soil and rocks of the fog forest were like immortal gold and were very difficult to destroy. In addition, the fog forest was in the momentum of heaven and earth. It was basically impossible to destroy this place. Chapter 1305. Jiang Chun had some headache. With his strength, wanting to destroy this fog forest was seriously too difficult, virtually impossible to do. Since they're all on the same side, then I have to help, Jiang Chen thought to himself. At the same time, he also had doubts in his heart. Ji Ruming and the Empress were on the same side. Nian Changa and the evil spirit King Bell were also together. Both sides were clearly hostile. Then, what was the relationship between Jiang Chen and Nian Changa? At this moment, in a short period of time, Jiang Chen thought a lot, but he could not figure it out no matter what. He knew that Nian Changa was hiding a lot of things from him, but he really did not know what on earth was hiding. But Jiang Chen had a feeling that as time passed, more and more prehistoric powerhouses appeared. The layers of mysteries back then were about to be unraveled soon. Want to destroy the fog forest? First of all, we have to find the location of the dragon vein here. Jiang Chun came back to his senses and explained. This is the place where heaven and earth's general momentum converges. Then, there must be the existence of the dragon vein. As long as the dragon vein is severed, the heaven and earth's general momentum will be broken. At that time, unlocking the seal will be easy. The dragon vein is below here. Ji Rumling pointed to the lake in front of her and said, It's just that with your strength, can you sever the dragon vein? One had to know, many prehistoric powerhouses died here back then. Their blood essence and divine power dripped here, nurturing the dragon vein. Now, this fog forest dragon vein was as solid as a boulder. Even if an emperor made a move, he might not be able to shatter it. Moreover, destroying the dragon vein was the key to unlocking the seal. Then the person who set up the seal back then would definitely set up layers of restrictions on the dragon vein to protect it. Jiang Chun wanting to destroy the dragon vein was really not very likely. But things had already come to this point. If he did not give it a try, Jiang Chun would not be reconciled either. I'll go down and take a look, Jiang Chun said softly. Immediately, divine power attached to his body, and he plunged into the lake. The lake water was very calm. The entire lake was like a pool of stagnant water. The water did not even flow. Jiang Chun continued diving down. After a long time, he passed through a light screen and entered an underground palace. The palace was surrounded by restrictions and barriers. There were even several great killing arrays hidden here, layers of restrictions, enchantments, and killing formations. This should be where the dragon vein is. Jiang Chun said softly. Standing at the entrance of the palace, he did not dare to walk around casually. He calmly stood in place, his eyes flickering with light. Runes burned all over his body, making him look like a star. He was observing the restrictions and barriers here. After a long time, Jiang Chun stretched out a finger and a rune appeared. Then, he gently tapped an inconspicuous wall at the entrance of the palace. Wong! In an instant, a trembling sound rang out, and a brilliant light shone from the entrance of the palace before it was suddenly extinguished. After that, Jiang Chun's eyes widened. When he looked inside the palace again, he found that the scenery was completely different from before. There is an illusory realm set up at the entrance of the palace. Jiang Chun felt a lingering fear. Fortunately, he did not enter rashly. Otherwise, once he was trapped in the illusory realm, it would be difficult for him to get out. However, even though he had cracked the illusory realm array at the entrance of the palace, Jiang Chun still did not dare to enter rashly. That was because he felt that there was still a hidden array at the entrance of the palace. At this rate, I am afraid that I will not even be able to enter the palace without 3 to 5 years, Jiang Chun said with a wry smile. He felt helpless when he sensed it again. That was because there were hundreds of arrays hidden at the entrance of the palace. There was no lack of restrictions, barriers, and even great killing arrays. These things were intertwined with each other. Once he made a mistake in cracking them, these arrays, barriers, and restrictions would explode. At that time, even if an extraordinaire came, he would die here. Suddenly, Jiang Chun felt goosebumps all over his body. That was because an extremely cold and gloomy aura came from behind him. Silently, not far from Jiang Chun, a pitch-black door quietly opened. Then, rows of living beings wearing ancient and broken armor walked out of the pitch-black door, each of them emitting an aura of death. Undead! Jiang Chun was shocked. At the front of the row of living beings, there was a green lamp floating and burning leisurely, as if it was guiding the way for this group of undead. Soldiers opened the way. Living beings are not allowed to enter. Jiang Chun was shocked. He could guess that this was most likely left behind by the ancient netherworld. However, what were these soldiers doing? Where were they going? What's going on? After a few breaths, Jiang Chun saw that this group of soldiers had passed through the palace doors safely and walked into the depths of the palace. They did not seem to be here for the palace, but purely passing by. Under the green lamp, It was as if all the restrictions, barriers, and arrays had failed. Can I sneak in? Jiang Chen whispered. He used the myriad transformations heavenly lamp to change his aura, and his entire body was filled with an aura of death. Then he became bolder and blended into the group of Yin's soldiers. Walking slowly, he actually managed to enter the palace safely. What is that lamp? Jiang Chen was shocked, and his heart was burning. He could not wait to rush up and take the green lamp. However, Jiang Chen was still rational. He knew that these things might be related to the ancient netherworld, and that the green lamp must have a great background. If he acted rashly, he might cause an inexplicable disaster. There are no barriers or restrictions in here at all? At this moment, the Yin's soldiers disappeared. Under the light of the green lamp, they passed through a pitch-black door, as if they had never appeared. Jiang Chen was left alone in the palace. He was surprised to find that there was not a single array, barrier, or restriction in the entire palace. However, when he thought about it carefully, it made sense. After all, there were so many arrays outside the palace that even extraordinaries would not dare to barge in. It was enough to keep out most of the living beings in the world. In that case, there was no need to set up arrays in the palace. It was a pity that the person who set up the arrays might not have expected that this place would become a path for the Yin's soldiers of the ancient netherworld. In the end, Jiang Chen blended into the Yin's soldiers and entered just like that. Where is the dragon vein? At this moment, Jiang Chen searched the palace, but he could not find any trace of the dragon vein at all. The entire palace was empty, without any decorations. There was not even a table or chair. Could it be that the dragon vein is not here? Jiang Chen was puzzled. If this place was not where the dragon vein was, why would there be so many arrays and restrictions? Brother, are you serious? After a dozen breaths, just as Jiang Chen was still looking for the dragon vein, the array at the entrance of the palace was activated. Then, the arrays, barriers, and restrictions rose one after another. Although they did not attack Jiang Chen, the palace was directly sealed. There was no way out of the situation. Chapter 1306. There were no restrictive spells in the palace, but the restrictive spells outside the palace were activated. It was obvious that the restriction formation had detected the presence of living creatures in the palace, and it was trying to trap Jiang Chen here until he died. There must be a life gate, Jiang Chen whispered. All formations, restrictive spells, and enchantments were formed by comprehending the great Tao of heaven and earth. Therefore, these things all followed the same principle. Heaven and earth open a line, and the life gate opened on the other side. No matter if it was a death array or a restrictive spell or enchantment, there would always be a life gate. It was just that the life gate was difficult to find and was hidden very deeply, especially the restrictive spells here, which were so complicated and profound. It was difficult for Jiang Chen to find the life gate, but there was no other way. He could only find the life gate, or he would not be able to get out at all. However, this palace was completely empty, not a single thing in sight. Everything could be seen with a single glance. So where was the life gate to speak of? Jiang Chen sensed carefully. There was no energy fluctuation in the entire palace. This is just a simple palace. There is nothing. Jiang Chen's face was gloomy. He searched the palace again, but he did not find any clues. Damn it! After half a day, Jiang Chen sat on the ground. He was really desperate. Empty. There was no clue. Everything in front of him was like an abyss. It was difficult to get out. If I had known, I would have left with the group of Yin's soldiers just now. Jiang Chen sighed. However, he didn't have the nerve to let Jiang Chen leave with the ghost soldiers. After all, the Yin's soldiers were too strange. He did not know where they started and where they ended up. If they walked into a dangerous place, Jiang Chen would be finished. Time elapsed slowly. Jiang Chen stayed where he was for a while, feeling dispirited. He had no choice but to start practicing. Anyway, he had nothing to do. He could not continue to be dispirited. Jiang Chen also understood that the spiritual power here was so strong that he could cultivate normally. The worst-case scenario was to cultivate until he became an extraordinaire. When the time came, he would force his way out. Of course, this was the worst-case scenario. Time flowed by, and the days went by one after another. No one came to the palace to look for Jiang Chun. As for Jiang Chun, he did nothing but cultivate. Until one day, perhaps a month, or perhaps a year, Jiang Chun's body suddenly emitted a rumbling sound. At this moment, Jiang Chun's mind was greatly shaken. His realm hadn't broken through, but the lamp-bearer had undergone a transformation. With this roar, the originally vague figure of the lamp-bearer seemed to have solidified a lot. At the same time, an inexplicable aura emerged from the depths of Jiang Chun's soul. This aura was very strange, giving people a feeling that it was both near and far, as if there was an endless distance between them, but also as if it was right in front of them. Jiang Chun stared at the lantern-bearer. He didn't know if the myriad transformations' heavenly lamp had evolved again, or if it was just the lantern-bearer who had evolved. Even now, Jiang Chun still didn't know if the ever-changing heavenly lamp and the lamp-bearer were one and the same. The coordinates have been opened again. The broken reincarnation road, the pitch-black distance. In the end, someone has lit up the way back. Someone is waving and guiding us back. At this moment, in an unknown space-time, rows of living beings stood in the chaos. Their bodies were covered in wounds, and some of them only had a head or even an arm left. At this moment, they were looking into the distance. At the end of the endless space-time, there was an illusory figure holding a green lamp and waving at them. If Jiang Chun were here, he would discover that the illusory figure was exactly the same as the lamp-bearer, and that green lamp was the myriad transformations' heavenly lamp. The great plan of the ages was designed to trap us, but who would have thought that we didn't die and are still persevering? Today, we set off on the way back. Rows of living beings roared, and the aura they emitted shook the heavens and the earth. The surrounding void couldn't withstand such power and had long collapsed. However, when they moved forward, the sound of chains sliding came from their bodies. Upon closer inspection, there were actually black chains in the bodies of these living beings. Not only did they bind their bodies, but they also bound their souls. A portion of their strength was sealed, and their injuries were severe. It was difficult for them to move. Clearly, the path back was very difficult. They only knew the direction, but they didn't know if they could reach the end. The lamp is still here, the shadow is still here, which means that our home is still here. I only hope that everyone can return with me alive. The leader of this group of living beings sighed. The shackles in his body were even more complicated, but his footsteps were very light, and he wasn't affected at all. He even continuously forced out his own essence blood to heal the living beings behind him. Honorable King, we all know in our hearts that less than 1/10 of us can return. Someone sighed and said, but we want to see our home again. If I can't hold on and fall on the road, please take a wisp of my remnant soul and send it to my home. I want my soul to return to my homeland. Behind him, the voices of those living beings were filled with vicissitudes and fatigue. Even they themselves didn't know how long they had been trapped here. Perhaps it was a few eras, or perhaps they had been trapped here since the first battle after the creation of the world. Many people's consciousnesses were blurry. If not for the fact that the Honorable King had been protecting them and using his blood essence to nourish them, none of these living beings would have survived. We can all return. We definitely can. The person called the Honorable King said seriously. As he advanced, he forced out the blood essence in his body to nourish the living beings behind him. Just like that, they slowly advanced towards the illusory figure and the green lamp. However, the distance was too far. He didn't know when they would reach the end. At the same time, Jiang Chun was stunned on the spot. He was in a daze because in that instant, he seemed to have seen the living beings that were returning. For some reason, perhaps it was the throbbing of his soul, Jiang Chun's eyes were filled with hot tears. He didn't understand why he was crying, nor did he understand what he was seeing. He was guessing, could these people be the so-called ancestors as well? However, hadn't the ancestors all returned? Moreover, these living beings looked even older and more powerful than the ancestors back then. A line opens between heaven and earth, and the door of life lies on one side. Finally, there will be fish leaping over the dragon and escaping to the dark sky. At this moment, the lamp-bearer actually spoke. However, he didn't have any consciousness. He just kept repeating this sentence. Jiang Chen didn't feel anything at first, but as he listened, he couldn't help but palpitate. Could it be that in one of my eras I should have been exiled to an unknown space-time like those living beings, but I escaped? Jiang Chen whispered. If that was the case, then which eras of Jiang Chen? Could it be the first one? Jiang Chen whispered. Buzz! After a few more breaths, the lamp-bearer's body emitted a dim light. The ever-changing heavenly lamp appeared from Jiang Chen's body. The green lamp burned leisurely, but it illuminated the palace and even illuminated some things. Chapter 13:07. The green lamp flickered as if it could see through all illusions. Under the dim light, the scenery in the palace changed. Jiang Chen was shocked because he saw a skinny old man staring at him in front of him. This old man was silent, and there was no sign of life on his body, nor was there any trace of divine power fluctuation. He was like a ghost. No, to be more precise, he was more like an illusory thing. You can see me? At this moment, the old man frowned. His voice was hoarse and filled with vicissitudes of life. Jiang Chen was shocked. He jumped up and stared at the old man. Divine power surged in his body, and he asked, "Who are you?" I didn't expect someone to be able to see me. I've been trapped here for so many eras. I can neither live nor die. The old man sighed. Then a trace of excitement appeared in his eyes, and he said, "Can you do me a favor?" Jiang Chen was stunned when he heard that. He asked in confusion, "What favor? Can you kill me?" The old man said seriously. There was a trace of pleading in his words. This made Jiang Chen a little confused. He had never heard of such a request. Asking for death. I'm the dragon vein of this place. I was refined into the eye of a formation in prehistoric times. I can neither live nor die. I've had enough of this kind of life. The old man sighed. His eyes were full of vicissitudes and bitterness as he explained slowly. Back then, this place was an ancient battlefield. Many prehistoric almighties had died here, and he was the dragon vein that seized the fortune of heaven and earth and was born from the blood essence of many prehistoric almighties. Originally, he had a good future. After he gained sentience, he could cultivate, transform, and soar into the sky. Not to say that he could look down on everyone, but he could dominate a region. But who would have thought that in the last battle, this place would turn into a foggy forest, and he would be refined into the eye of a formation for eternity, neither alive nor dead. There were people who had entered this place before, but they could not see him at all. He was about to despair. He had been trapped here for so many eras. No one could communicate with him, and he could not cultivate. His days were dull and muddled. Now there was finally someone who could see him. They didn't beg for him. They only wanted to die. To him, death was the true release. You are the dragon vein of the dense fog forest? Jiang Chen exclaimed. He never thought that the dragon vein of this place had always been in this palace. At the same time, Jiang Chen also understood that the array, enchantment, and even restriction outside the palace were not to prevent outsiders from entering, but to prevent the dragon vein from escaping. Is there a way to save him? Jiang Chen asked. However, the dragon vein clearly told Jiang Chen that if he had come a few eras earlier, when his body and soul were still here, there might have been a way to save him. But now, he was neither human nor ghost. He had transformed into a spirit of nothingness, and there was nothing in this world that could save him. Only death was the best choice. It was the best place to return to. What happened back then? Was that battle really that terrifying? Jiang Chen asked. The myriad worlds were almost destroyed. This place is just a battlefield. The real place of the final battle is not here. The dragon vein said, the current greater thousand world is just a broken world, or rather an abandoned world. The people of the future generations can't imagine the vastness of the myriad worlds at all. In the end, you are just abandoned people. When Jiang Chun heard this, his heart palpitated, and he could not calm down. How vast was the greater thousand world? It was almost impossible to see the end. Even the ancestral realm belonged to the greater thousand world. But now, the dragon vein actually said that the greater thousand world was a broken world, an abandoned world. There were other worlds outside the greater thousand world. Was that the myriad worlds? Of course, Jiang Chun was still in the 9 cities small world at this moment, so he had no idea what was happening in the outside world. If he knew that at the edge of the greater thousand world, the darkness dissipated, the light rose and fell, and there were creatures crossing from another world, he might be much calmer. Can you tell me what's going on with Ji Ruming? Jiang Chun asked again. Everlasting war god Ji Ruming. The dragon vein exclaimed first. Then he smiled bitterly and said, no matter how strong she is, she can't defeat them in the end. In the end, she was suppressed here. Perhaps she's already dead. She isn't dead yet. Jiang Chun said in a deep voice, I entered this place to find the dragon vein, destroy it, and release Ji Ruming. She isn't dead? The dragon vein exclaimed again, as if he was very surprised. No one knew better than him how powerful the formations and restrictions here were, and no one knew better than him how terrifying the seal on Ji Ruming's body was. After all, he was the dragon vein, and everything here was created by him. He could not imagine how strong Ji Ruming was to be able to live to this era with the seal. If I die, she can live, the dragon vein said. After today, the misty forest will no longer exist, and the everlasting war god will be born. Jiang Chun was stunned when he heard that. After a long time, he continued to ask, what about the evil spirit King Bell? What's the matter with that? The moment these words came out, the dragon vein's expression clearly became gloomy. And the reason why Jiang Chun asked this was only because he felt that something was not quite right with Nian Chang'e. Nian Chang'e being together with the evil spirit King Bell was clearly Ji Ruming's enemy. But Ji Ruming was the Empress's old friend, and the Empress and Jiang Chun had inextricable ties. The two should not be considered enemies either. This way, the relationship between Jiang Chun and Nian Chang'e, what was it? Enemy or friend? The evil spirit King Bell is the weapon that group of people sacrificially refined together. Back then, it killed many people. Furthermore, the reason why this world would be broken also has a lot to do with the evil spirit King Bell. However, the evil spirit King Bell was shattered back then. It should be destroyed, the dragon vein said. When Jiang Chun heard that, he laughed bitterly and said, Ji Ruming is still alive, and the evil spirit King Bell is also still there. Furthermore, they already escaped and left the misty forest. What? At this moment, the dragon vein's expression changed drastically. He grabbed Jiang Chun's shoulder and asked with a serious look, the evil spirit King Bell escaped? Yes. Jiang Chun nodded. From the dragon vein's expression, he could guess how serious the evil spirit King Bell's escape was. But so what? Jiang Chun was no match for the evil spirit King Bell. Previously, he could not stop it from escaping. Moreover, the evil spirit King Bell was related to Nian Chang'e. Just based on this point, even if Jiang Chun could suppress the evil spirit King Bell, he had to find out what was going on. The evil spirit King Bell escaped. The gate of the 3 underworld opened. The dragon vein knew a lot. He looked at Jiang Chun excitedly and said, after you go out, you must go to the top of the sky. You must light up the everlasting ancient lamp there. Top of the sky? Everlasting ancient lamp? Jiang Chun was confused. He did not remember the memories of his previous lives. At this moment, he was confused. Chapter 1308. Jiang Chun had never heard of the eternal light ancient lamp at the peak of the sky. What was that place? Why did he have to light the eternal light ancient lamp? The exiled people are returning. Whether it is the prehistoric experts of the Yang realm or the Yin realm, they are all fighting to cross. Long Mai explained, the evil spirit King Bell is the lamp of the Yin realm. When he appeared, the prehistoric experts of the Yin realm found the coordinates, and they are already on their way back. Yin realm? Yang 3 realms? Jiang Chun was dumbfounded. Long Mai did not explain much to him. He only told Jiang Chun that he had to go to the peak of the sky and light up the eternal light ancient lamp. Only then could the prehistoric experts of the Yang realm return as soon as possible. Buzz! After a few breaths, just as Long Mai was about to continue explaining, a rumbling sound suddenly rang out. Immediately, Long Mai's body trembled as if he had been hit by some force. This made Long Mai a little confused. Even Jiang Chun was surprised. This was the underground palace of the fog forest. Outside the palace, there were countless arrays and restrictions. This place was like a boulder. It was impossible for other forces to enter. In addition, Long Mai's current state was nothingness. It could be said that he was immune to all forces. However, just now he had been hit by some kind of force. "It's a forbidden force," Long Mai exclaimed. When he looked at Jiang Chun, his eyes were filled with shock. "Forbidden force?" Jiang Chun asked. "What's going on? Why are you looking at me like that?" Who are you?" Long Mai asked doubtfully. One had to know that Long Mai had been trapped here for countless eras. He had thought of ways to provoke the forbidden force. However, no matter what he said or did, it was difficult to attract the forbidden force. But now, in front of Jiang Chun, he had only said something about the Yin realm, and it had attracted the forbidden force. He could not help but suspect Jiang Chun's identity. When Jiang Chun heard this, he was very indifferent. After all, this kind of thing had happened to him many times. "Now you don't have to do anything," Long Mai said. After being struck by the sealing power, his body gradually dimmed and was about to dissipate. To him, this was a form of relief. "When I was in the 6 realms, I saw creatures from the netherworld," Jiang Chun whispered. "Is the netherworld I've seen the same world as the 3 underworlds you mentioned? It should be one of the worlds under the 3 underworld. The true strength and foundation of the 3 underworld is not something you can imagine," Long Mai said in a deep voice. "Any living being of the 3 Yin realms can easily destroy the entire upper-class world." "What? Destroy the whole Great Thousand World easily?" Jiang Chun exclaimed in surprise. One had to know that there were countless powerhouses in the great wide world. Emperors were as common as the clouds, and there were also many transcendent beings overseeing it. With such strength and foundation, he couldn't stop a creature from the 3 Yin realms? Wasn't this too exaggerated? When the 3 Yin realms and the 3 Yang realms went to war, the battlefield they chose was the Great Thousand World. Long Mai said, since he was hit by the forbidden power and didn't have long to live, he might as well say everything without any worries. Of course, he was seeking death. Back then, the creatures of the Great Thousand World had seen the strength of the powerhouses of the 3 Yin realms and the 3 Yang realms. They were really too strong. In that battle back then, a true immortal had made a move. As soon as these words were said, Jiang Chen's heart trembled. One had to know that immortals had always been a legend. Although there were terrifying creatures like half-immortals, they weren't immortals in the true sense. Immortals in the true sense didn't know their strength, but they were very strong, extremely strong. However, there were rumors that because of something, it was impossible for the cultivators of today to become immortals. Therefore, for many people, half-immortals were already the pinnacle. The power of a true immortal is not something you can imagine. That is an existence that can destroy the entire upper-class world with one hand. Long Mai said. At this point, Long Mai's body was about to disappear. But at this moment, he seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly said, "We must find Chang'an." However, before he could finish his words, Long Mai's body completely disappeared. Boom! At the same time, the entire palace shook, and the array outside was collapsing. With the disappearance of the dragon vein, everything in this place collapsed as well. Jiang Chun rushed out of the palace. Without the obstruction of the array, there was nothing here that could stop him. Then, Jiang Chun swam towards the top of the lake, but his mind was filled with what Long Mai had said before, especially the last sentence that was not finished. Must find Chang'an? Could it be Nian Chang'e? However, that sentence was not finished after all, so Jiang Chun did not dare to make wild guesses. However, Jiang Chen knew very well that one day he would know Nian Changa's secret. However, at that time, it was hard to say whether he and Nian Changa were enemies or friends. It's finally unsealed. When Jiang Chun came out of the lake, he heard Ji Rumling let out a long howl, and a terrifying aura erupted from her body. Jiang Chen's eyes widened, and he was shocked, because the aura emitted by Ji Rumling surpassed that of an extraordinary being. This could be a half-immortal? I've been sealed for too long. I'm afraid it'll be difficult to recover in a short period of time. Ji Rumling sighed, looked at Jiang Chun, and said with a smile, "Thank you. It's fine." "Actually, I didn't do anything," Jiang Chun said. Boom! Boom! At the same time, the entire fog forest was shaking. Because of the disappearance of Long Mai, everything here was about to collapse. Ji Rumling did not say anything and flew out of fog forest with Jiang Chun and Tian Shui. When the three of them arrived outside, they saw blood everywhere around fog forest, and there were thousands of corpses. These people were all Heaven's prides who had entered Nine Cities' small world, and there was no lack of top emperors among them. But now, these people were all dead. Their essence, energy, and spirit seemed to have been sucked dry. Their corpses were like withered corpses, and their faces were abnormally sinister. They should have been tortured before they died. "Looks like you can't wait any longer," Ji Rumling said coldly. "I'm afraid Wang Zhong is going to start a massacre here." "Why do you want to kill them?" Jiang Chen asked. "He's the same as me. After being sealed for so long, his essence, energy, and spirit are exhausted. He needs a large amount of essence, energy, and spirit to recover." Ji Rumling explained, "I'm different from him. I won't slaughter living beings to replenish my essence, energy, and spirit." After saying that, Ji Rumling's expression turned gloomy. She put Jiang Chun and Tian Shui down and said, "I'll go deal with Wang Zhong. You guys find a place first. I'll come find you when the time comes." "Okay, be careful," Jiang Chun said softly, but he felt that the words "be careful" seemed to have been said too much. With Ji Rumling's strength, probably even 10, Wang Zhong wouldn't be her match. Chapter 1309. Ji Rumling had left, and Jiang Chun had nowhere to go with Tian Shui. They could not find any traces of Di San and the rest. At the same time, Jiang Chun was worried. If the ancient Ghost King Bell really started a massacre in the Nine Cities small world, what would happen to Nian Changa and the rest who had left with the ancient Ghost King Bell? Would they be killed by the ancient Ghost King Bell? "Nian Changa should be fine, but I don't know about Di San and the rest," Jiang Chun said in a low voice. His thoughts were in a mess. He did not know if he should believe Nian Changa. The young man whom he had met in the Godless Continent seemed to have changed a lot. However, Jiang Chun still hoped that no matter what, Nian Changa would still be with him. "Let me send you out." Jiang Chun looked at Tian Shui and said softly, "The Nine Cities small world is getting more and more chaotic. There are many peerless geniuses here, and now there is the ancient Ghost King Bell. This place is very dangerous." However, Tian Shui shook her head. She did not want to leave just like that. "I will not leave until I kill the Heavenly Court Saint," Tian Shui said in a low voice. Previously, if not for Di San, she would definitely have been killed by the Heavenly Court Saint. Even so, she had almost died. Tian Shui was the descendant of the Great Empress, and the Great Empress's blood flowed in her body. Although she was not the direct descendant of the Great Empress, as a member of the Great Empress's clan, how could she not take revenge for such humiliation? "Let's find a city and find out more information," Jiang Chen said. He did not insist on letting Tian Shui leave. Then, the two of them walked together. After half a day, they finally found an ancient city. The ancient city was grand and majestic, but it was also filled with vicissitudes of life. The city walls were covered with dark red blood stains, and there were also marks of swords and sabers. There were even palm prints and fist prints. Obviously, this city had experienced the baptism of war a long time ago. The seventh city? This is the city that Di San was in charge of previously. Jiang Chen looked at the words on the plaque of the ancient city and frowned slightly. When D-San had been ambushed and defeated, he had fled. Logically speaking, the current owner of the Seventh City should be someone from the Heavenly Court or someone from the True Sky Clan. If we go in rashly, I'm afraid it'll be very dangerous, Jiangchen said softly. For a moment, he was hesitant about whether or not he should go in. At this moment, Tian Shui's expression froze. A baleful aura surged from her body, and a gloomy light flickered in the depths of her eyes. There's no one inside, Tian Shui said solemnly. No, it's not that there's no one, but they're all dead. Tian Shui's Dao Soul was the Azura Dao Soul, and it had even advanced to the level of 10 evils. She was extremely sensitive to blood and vitality. At that moment, she could sense that the Seventh City was filled with the aura of fresh blood and an endless amount of death chi. The Seventh City was like a bloody purgatory. They're all dead, said Jiangchen softly. After observing his surroundings, he cautiously approached the Seventh City. Then, he flew up into the air and looked down at the Seventh City. With one look, Jiangchen's expression changed drastically. Everywhere he looked, there was dark red blood and corpses everywhere. There were broken limbs and withered corpses. It's the evil spirit King Bell that massacred this place, said Jiangchen solemnly. In the entire Seventh City, there were at least 1,000 people. Moreover, these people's cultivations weren't low, and a few of them were even upper-level emperors. However, these people were all dead, and the essence, energy, and spirit in their bodies had been sucked away. After absorbing so much essence, energy, and spirit, the evil spirit King Bell's strength shouldn't have recovered to its peak, right? Tian Shui said worriedly. If that's the case, wouldn't Senior Ji Ruming be in danger? She shouldn't be in any danger. After all, her strength is there for all to see. Jiangchen said solemnly. Now, we should consider our own safety. When he said this, Tian Shui couldn't help but be stunned. She asked doubtfully, Our own safety? What do you mean? The evil spirit King Bell massacred so many people. I'm afraid he won't hide anything anymore. If he's really Ji Ruming's enemy, then once we meet the evil spirit King Bell, Jiang Chun said solemnly, it's hard to say. Nian Chang'e wouldn't be lying to you, right? Tian Shui reacted quickly and immediately thought of Nian Chang'e. When Jiang Chun heard this, he waved his hand and said, Before we know the truth, don't say anything. After that, Jiang Chun entered the Seventh City and searched among the withered corpses, hoping to find some clues. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Jiang Chun turned over a corpse. His expression changed drastically. This was because there was a lotus imprint on the chest of the withered corpse. This lotus imprint was very special. There were many lotus leaves. After counting carefully, there were exactly 72 leaves. Nian Chang'e, you are really on the side of the evil spirit King Bell? Jiang Chen's emotions were very unstable. He didn't dare to believe that Nian Chang'e had left behind an attack on the withered corpse. Then, did this mean that Nian Chang'e was really on the side of the evil spirit King Bell? So many people had died in the Seventh City. Was Nian Chang'e also involved? If that's really the case, then the great virtues, at this moment, Jiang Chen didn't dare to continue thinking. The great virtues weren't ordinary creatures. They were several ancestral-level creatures, plus the sword wave flower and the elixir of immortality. The essence, chi, and spirit in their bodies were extraordinary. If the evil spirit King Bell really needed essence, chi, and spirit, then the essence, chi, and spirit of the great virtues were definitely his best choice. Heaven's insight, earth's spirit, spirit as the line, wind as the path. At this moment, Jiang Chun didn't dare to hesitate any longer. He formed a seal with both hands and executed the forbidden technique. Buzz! A rumbling sound echoed out, and divine power surged out and turned into a landscape painting in front of Jiang Chun. In the painting, he saw the evil spirit King Bell and Nian Chang'e. He also saw D-San and the great virtues. They had indeed been here before. However, what was puzzling was that after the evil spirit King Bell and the rest arrived, they didn't stay for long. Instead, They left directly. In the painting, the evil spirit King Bell didn't kill any living creatures. This is a forbidden technique that traces back to the past. It can see what happened here before. Jiangchen said in a deep voice, the evil spirit King Bell didn't kill. This? What's going on? Tian Shui was also confused. If the evil spirit King Bell didn't kill any living creatures, then who did those withered corpses outside the fog forest and the thousands of withered corpses in the seventh city? Could it be someone else? Jiangchen said softly. He executed the forbidden technique again and saw the evil spirit King Bell and the rest leave. However, Jiangchen didn't chase after them. He continued to trace back to the past and wanted to see who had massacred this place. Half an hour later, there was finally a change in the painting in front of him. A scarlet cloud landed on the sky above the seventh city. At the same time, a figure slowly descended from the cloud. When Jiangchen saw this person's face, he felt like he had been struck by lightning. He was petrified and couldn't move at all. Chapter 13:10. Jiangchen was stunned on the spot. He found it hard to believe that the person who slaughtered the living beings in the nine-city small world was actually him. This is you. Tian Shui was also shocked. She stared at the person in the image in a daze. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. In the image, the living being who descended from the clouds looked exactly the same as Jiangchen. However, this person's body was emitting a scarlet radiance. Even his eyes and pupils were scarlet red. He descended in the seventh city and a blood mist descended. Everywhere he passed, everyone fell to the ground. They did not even have the strength to resist. This fellow isn't me, right? Jiangchen was dumbfounded. He stared at this person. However, the more he looked, the more he felt that it was him. However, at that time, Jiangchen was in the fog forest. How could he have come out to slaughter living beings? Is someone trying to frame you? Tian Shui said solemnly. This might be a conspiracy against you. Is that so? Jiangchen frowned. His mind was spinning rapidly. However, he could not think of who was trying to frame him. Could it be the heavenly court? However, with the heavenly court style of doing things, they would either assassinate him secretly or directly confront him head-on. Why would they spend so much effort to do such a thing? Moreover, in the seventh city, there were also people from the heavenly court who died here. It shouldn't be the heavenly court, Jiangchen said solemnly. However, for the moment, Jiangchen didn't know who had done it. Let's find D-San and the others first. Perhaps they know what is going on, Jiangchen said. Immediately, the two of them stood up and chased down the road. However, when they arrived at the sixth city, they discovered that the sixth city was also massacred. Moreover, there were even more living beings that were slaughtered here. There were more than 10,000 of them. They died not long ago. Jiangchen entered the city and discovered that many corpses were still warm. Some of the energy in the corpses had not calmed down. Is it also done by that person? Tian Shui asked. Jiangchen shook his head. He did not know who did it. He could only use the forbidden technique again. However, this time, the forbidden technique didn't succeed. There was an invisible force that scattered the forbidden technique and concealed the aura of this world. This caused Jiangchen to be extremely shocked. Just who in the world had such means to be able to disperse the power of a forbidden technique? Furthermore, the rules and order of the heavens and earth seemed to have changed, as if they had turned into nothingness. The nine-city small world has a special law and order. Those above the Emperor realm are unable to enter. Jiangchen asked in puzzlement. Then in the nine-city small world, the highest cultivation level is at the half-step transcendent level. As for half-step transcendence, how could they slaughter so many living beings? The more Jiangchen thought about it, the more ridiculous it became. Even a half-step transcendent wouldn't have the ability to slaughter so many people. Could it be an existence like Ji Ruming and the evil spirit King Bell? Tian Shui asked. One should know that the evil spirit King Bell and Ji Ruming had been trapped in the nine cities small world. Therefore, they weren't bound by the rules and order of this world. However, Ji Ruming had just escaped, and the evil spirit King Bell was with Nian Chang'e and the rest. Previously, through the forbidden technique, they saw that the living beings in the seventh city weren't slaughtered by the evil spirit King Bel. Then, who was it? What was the identity of the man in the forbidden technique's image? Continue chasing, Jiang Chen said in a deep voice. I'm afraid this matter is going to blow up. Then, the two of them stood up and flew towards the fifth city. Run! Jiang Chen, this devil, is going to slaughter the entire 9 cities' small world. However, before Jiang Chen and Tian Shui arrived at the fifth city, they heard screams and exclamations from afar. Jiang Chen was stunned for a moment. He saw a few people flying towards him. Their bodies were covered in blood, and they had less than 1/10 of their vitality left. Their bones had lost their luster, and their blood seemed to have solidified. Their originally young bodies now looked like people in their twilight years. You, Jiang Chen, can't you just let us live? After a few breaths, these people also saw Jiang Chen. Their faces turned pale, and they screamed continuously. I've never slaughtered anyone. Jiang Chen frowned and said, What happened in front? When these words came out, these people came to their senses. After all, Jiang Chen's aura was very calm, and there wasn't a trace of bloodthirst. There's a person who looks exactly like you in the fifth city. He's slaughtering the entire fifth city, and no one can stop him. It's too terrifying. Over 1,000 people died as soon as he attacked. Their vitality was sucked dry, and even their souls were devoured. As these people spoke, they ran into the distance. When Jiang Chen and Tian Shui heard this, they looked at each other and decided to go to the fifth city to take a look. When the two of them arrived at the fifth city, the smell of blood filled the air and screams resounded in all directions. At a closer look, the entire fifth city was shrouded by a layer of blood clouds. An endless stream of vitality was rising from the fifth city and entering the body of the living being standing in the sky above the fifth city. Who exactly are you? At this moment, Jiang Chen shouted angrily as he stared at the man who looked exactly like him. Cold light flickered in his eyes. However, Jiang Chen didn't make a move. He knew his own strength and knew how terrifying his opponent was. By asking this question, Jiang Chen just wanted to find out the truth. Oh, the real person is here? At this moment, the man seemed surprised. After sizing up Jiang Chen, he said mockingly, I'm you. However, I'm not Jiang Chen. I'm Tianzong. Tianzong? Jiang Chen was stunned for a moment. Then, he thought of something and exclaimed, You're a physical body of my previous life? Looks like you're not stupid. Tianzong chuckled and said, I thought I would spend my life in a muddle-headed state until you merged with me. Who would have thought that the heavens were kind to me and gave me spiritual intelligence and spiritual intelligence? Now, perhaps I'm the real person, and you are just my foil, Tianzong said. As soon as he finished speaking, he walked toward Jiang Chen. With every step he took, the void shook and order and laws collapsed under his feet. He was too powerful. He ignored the rules and order of this place and arrived in the 9 cities' small world with the cultivation of an extraordinary. Jiang Chen's body tensed up. An array rose under his feet. The teleportation array was ready. However, before Jiang Chen could activate the teleportation array, Tianzong flicked his finger and the array was shattered. Then, he came to Jiang Chen and asked with a faint smile, Are you afraid? If it were you, wouldn't you be afraid? Jiang Chen didn't feel embarrassed. After all, if Tianzong wanted to kill him, he wouldn't have the strength to resist. Oh, this isn't like you, Tianzong said contemptuously. In your previous life, you weren't invincible. However, you were still unrivaled and fearless. In this life, you've changed a lot. So? Jiang Chen asked. He couldn't feel any hostility or murderous intent from Tianzong. This meant Tianzong didn't want to kill him. Chapter 13:11. The fifth city was already filled with corpses. Some people were still struggling and screaming, but they could not escape the fate of being sucked by Tianzong. He was really too strong. At this moment, he did not even need to care about the creatures in the fifth city. He could slaughter the entire fifth city. Jiang Chun did not understand why Tianzong was so cruel. This was his physical body when he was Tianzong. Even if it was psychic, it should not be like this. Are you trying to stop me? Tianzong said disdainfully. Although there was no hostility or killing intent, when he looked at Jiang Chun, the disdain in his eyes was not concealed at all. I can't. Jiang Chun shook his head. He also knew that he was no match for Tianzong. If you can't stop it, why did you come here? Are you not afraid that I will kill you? Tianzong asked. Hearing this, Jiang Chun could not help but laugh bitterly. He only came here to find out the truth. After all, he suspected that someone was framing him. Jiang Chun did not expect that the person who slaughtered the creatures in the ninth small world this time was actually his physical body. I didn't expect you to be so strong. Jiang Chun sighed. If it were an ordinary person, I could use a formation to escape. Huh? Tianzong laughed disdainfully, but there was a trace of helplessness in his eyes. He said, You're the main body after all. I can't kill you. This is the bond between you and me. However, when he spoke, there was killing intent in Tianzong's eyes. He stared at Jiang Chun and asked very seriously, Is the law of the jungle in this world? Yes. Jiang Chun nodded. Then if one day I am stronger than you and I can kill you and replace you, will you blame me? Tianzong asked. When these words came out, Jiang Chun was stunned and did not know what to do for a long time. This was because Jiang Chun and Tianzong were originally one. No matter who was in charge, they were actually the same person. Of course, this was what Jiang Chun thought at first. But after a while, Jiang Chun shook his head and said, You can't replace me. Why? Tianzong asked. His tone was very calm, as if he already knew the reason. It's because you're just my body, while my real soul is with me. No matter whether I'm dead or alive, I'm still my main body, Jiang Chun said. Even if you manage to kill me one day, the world's creatures won't acknowledge you. Ah, that's right. Tianzong sighed. How could he not know this? However, being Jiang Chun's physical body, this feeling was really not good. In the eyes of the world, the celestial sect was not a normal living being. He could only be considered a corpse, a monster that was born by accident. It was also because of this that Tianzong wanted to change. He wanted to break through the shackles, to break the fetters between him and Jiang Chun. Only in this way could he achieve his true self. However, his method was a little extreme. There is no need to kill. Jiang Chun sighed. I don't have the memories of my previous lives. Perhaps I can't even return. The bodies of my previous lives can be merged with as many as I can. I will never force it. If you want freedom, I can fulfill your wish. Even if one day I am stronger than you and can suppress you, as long as you are not willing, I will not force it. Tianzong fell silent, as if he was doubting the truth of Jiang Chun's words. After a few breaths, he laughed and said, The current you, even if your memories are incomplete, you should know one thing. If you want to return, you need to merge with all the bodies of your previous lives. Even if you lose a body or a finger, it will be difficult for you to return. Even so, you are still willing to give me freedom? Jiang Chun nodded. Actually, he had always been a little conflicted about returning. Jiang Chun had always thought that the current him was himself, not the previous lives, and not the first life. He wanted to be himself. If one day he really did return, would he still be the current him? If I am strong enough and can suppress everything, even if I don't return, I can solve all problems. Jiang Chun said seriously, I don't care if I can return or not. It is just that many people in this world care about my return. Since my current life, I have known about returning, but I have never forced anything, Jiang Chun said. Perhaps fate is predestined, but I believe that fate is in my own hands. These words have the boldness of your previous lives. Tianzong chuckled. Then he turned around slowly. With his back facing Jiang Chun, he said, You'd better stay alive before the bond between you and me is broken. If you die, I'll follow you. So, this is why you didn't kill me, Jiang Chun said to Tianzong casually. There is a cycle of reincarnation. Don't do evil. So, what if I do evil? Tianzong mocked, I am not the original body. The evil things I do will naturally be repaid by others. When these words came out, Jiang Qin's expression changed greatly. He felt something in his heart and looked up at the sky. At this moment, Tianzong directly left. However, before he left, he mocked, "Consider this my gift to you. F***CK. At this moment, Jiang Qin cursed. He saw streaks of lightning intertwining in the sky like black dragons. This was a heavenly tribulation, a heavenly punishment, and a heavenly wrath. Tianzong had killed too many people, and the heavens could not tolerate it. At this moment, 3 great tribulations had descended. Jiang Chun was innocent. He wasn't the one who had done it. You really intend to let him go? Tian Shui retreated far away. She did not want to be contaminated by these 3 great tribulations. What can I do? Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. He is now stronger than me. What if you were stronger than him? Tian Shui asked. Just like what I said before, I don't care whether I return or not. If I am strong enough, I can suppress everything, Jiang Chun said. Boom! When his voice fell, the sky was filled with lightning. Jiang Chun did not dare to be distracted. He used all his strength and began to pass the 3 great tribulations. 3 great Tao souls appeared. The lamp-bearer possessed his body. Chaotic qi circulated around him. After 2 hours, Jiang Chun passed the 3 great tribulations. He was also struck half to death and almost did not make it. He has left. At this moment, Jiang Chun was lying on the ground. The divine power in his body was surging. Undying fire circled around him, and his injuries were gradually healing. At the same time, he felt a trace of feeling. It was related to Tianzong's aura. Ever since the 2 of them met, the bond between the 2 of them became stronger. They could sense each other's location. However, if the distance was too far, they would definitely not be able to sense each other. He has left. But what should you do next? Tian Shui asked. Jiang Chun also had a headache. After all, this matter was not done by him. However, the key was that when Tianzong did this, he did not say that he was not Jiang Chun. Those people who escaped from Tianzong's hands would most likely think that Jiang Chun was the one who killed them, and those people would not let this matter rest. Perhaps they had already gathered somewhere and were preparing to suppress Jiang Chun. Chapter 13:12. At this moment, Jiang Chun didn't know what to do. He was also very clear that Tianzong was in trouble, and he would definitely be the scapegoat. Once he thought of those peerless geniuses in the small world of the 9 cities, Jiang Chun's head ached. Find a place to hide. What else can we do? Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. Jiang Chun wasn't stupid. If everyone in the small world of the 9 cities joined hands to deal with him, he would definitely die. The most important thing now was to find a place to hide, then inquire about the news, and finally clarify the matter. Of course, it wasn't certain if he could clarify the matter. After that, Jiang Chun and Tian Shui left. They didn't dare to stay in the city and came to a remote and desolate area. This place was full of withered mountains. There wasn't a single tree, nor was there a single weed. It was completely bare. After Jiang Chun set up a formation here, he fell silent and sat at the side. Tian Shui sat beside Jiang Chun. She was also frowning, as if she had something on her mind. After a long time, Jiang Chun slowly opened his mouth and sighed. If this matter can't be clarified, then I'll basically become the enemy of the entire world. Yes, so many people died. Many of them were the top disciples of various factions, and even the saints. Tian Shui nodded and said, if this matter spreads out, there will be no place for you in the great 1,000 world. Tianzong, this fellow, if he's psychic, then so be it. Why is he so cruel? Is it just to sever the bond between me and him? Jiang Chun was puzzled. Jiang Chun was the main body, and Tianzong was the physical body of his previous life. The bond between the 2 did exist. However, in order to sever this bond, did he have to start a massacre and slaughter so many innocent lives? Perhaps there's more to it. Tian Shui said softly. At this point, a trace of seriousness flashed in Tian Shui's eyes. She said, Senior Ru Ming went to suppress the evil King Bell. According to her strength, she should have returned long ago. You mean Ji Ruming met with an accident? Jiang Chun was stunned. It should be known that Ji Ruming was very powerful. When she wasn't at her peak, she was already a half-immortal. Jiang Chun seriously suspected that when Ji Ruming's state recovered to its peak, would her strength reach the level of a true immortal? At this moment, a message flashed through Jiang Chen's mind. Someone was communicating with him from thousands of miles away. Who? Jiang Chen frowned. It had to be known that the prerequisite for the 1,000-mile sound transmission was that both sides had to know the exact location of the other. However, other than Tian Shui, who else knew that he was here? It's me. In his mind, the voice became clearer and clearer. It was the voice of Nian Chang'e. He told Jiang Chun that he had to leave the Nine Cities small world as soon as possible, because many Heaven's favorites in the Nine Cities small worlds had teamed up and were looking for him everywhere. I've already hidden? Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. How did you find me? The 72 Lotus's divine ability? I can sense your location. Nian Chang'e said, it's not good for me to stay in the Nine Cities small world for long with the evil King Bell. I'll leave first. Be careful. By the way, what's your relationship with the evil King Bell? Jiang Chen asked. However, Nian Chang'e didn't send any more messages. It seemed that he had encountered something urgent and had left. This made Jiang Chun speechless. He didn't know what was going on with Nian Chang'e. Could it be that he had to stand on the opposite side of Nian Chang'e in the end? Let's go. Let's leave here first. At least there's someone who can help me outside. Jiang Chen sighed. When Tian Shui heard that, she nodded her head unwillingly. She didn't want to leave like this. She still wanted to find the Heavenly Court Saint to take revenge. However, she also understood that it was too dangerous for Jiang Chun to stay here. In the end, the two of them changed their appearance and concealed their aura. They flew toward the exit. However, when the two of them arrived at the exit, they saw a huge battle erupting. Upon closer inspection, D-San and a few virtuous saints were standing together. Opposite them were two youths. Everyone was familiar with one of them. It was the Heavenly Court Saint. Looking at the aura emanating from his body, this time, the Heavenly Court's Saint wasn't an avatar. It was his actual body. As for the other youth, Jiang Chen didn't recognize him. However, Tian Shui seemed to have seen him before. She said bluntly, Jin Yu, the saint of the true Heaven tribe. Oh, two famous peerless geniuses have teamed up? Jiang Chun said in surprise. One had to know that peerless geniuses had their own pride. Under normal circumstances, no one would be willing to team up. But now, these two fellows, D-San, hand over the Heavenly Imperial Jade Seal. The Heavenly Imperial Jade Seal isn't something you can control. The Heavenly Court Saint and Jin Yu's faces were cold. Their goal was clear. They wanted D-San's Heavenly Imperial Jade Seal. However, D-San shook his head and said, the Heavenly Imperial Jade Seal isn't with me. Do you really think we are fools? I have the eye of deceit and have already seen that the Heavenly Imperial Jade Seal is with you. Jin Yu said coldly, hand it over. Otherwise, you will definitely die today. The Heavenly Imperial Jade Seal is the key to the peak of the heavens. Do you know how valuable it is? This item can only be controlled by the Heavenly Court. The Heavenly Court's Saint said coldly, hand it over. When D-San heard this, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Since the other party already knew, there was no need to continue pretending. Furthermore, if they really fought, he wouldn't be afraid of the Heavenly Court Saint and Jin Yu. They were all peerless geniuses. If they fought one-on-one, D-San wouldn't be weaker than them. Furthermore, there were a few virtuous beings beside him. However, at this time, the virtuous beings' unreliable characteristics were revealed. After looking at each other, the virtuous beings immediately fled. Huang Dade even shouted, the Heavenly Imperial Jade Seal is with you. It has nothing to do with us. We also don't know D-San. This time, not only D-San, but even the Heavenly Court Saint and Jin Yu were stunned. They were betraying their teammate in public. San was so angry that he almost bled. Jiang Chun was watching from afar. When he saw this scene, he was also embarrassed. None of these virtuous beings were reliable. Jiang Chun was also wondering if this unreliability was contagious. How long had it been since Yao Dade and Jian Dade been led astray by the other virtuous beings? Logically speaking, those virtuous beings aren't good people, Tian Shui muttered. As she spoke, Tian Shui removed her disguise and revealed her aura. Then, her figure turned into a ray of white light and instantly appeared beside San. Then, she looked at the heavenly court saint and raised her eyebrows. A terrifying killing intent erupted from her body as she said coldly, "It's time to settle the score between us." "Oh, it's you?" The heavenly court saint was stunned for a moment before he said disdainfully, "A mere woman dares to settle the score with me?" Chapter 13:13. The heavenly court saint was extremely strong. In the entire 9-city small world, his strength was enough to be ranked in the top 5. In his eyes, in this small world, there weren't many people who could fight him head-on. Tian Shui was definitely not one of them. "A woman?" Tian Shui said softly as the corners of her mouth curled up. She said with a faint smile, "In a certain era, the entire world was controlled by my race." The moment she said that, the heavenly court's saint's expression changed. He seemed to have thought of something. He stared at Tian Shui and pondered for a while before asking, "Empress, if it weren't for your sneak attack, I wouldn't have been so heavily injured." Tian Shui didn't reply directly, but she didn't deny it either. At this moment, the heavenly court's saint's expression turned serious. The Great Thousand World had gone through many eras, and every era was different. There were powerful experts who had a period of time, and there were also experts who were like blooming fireworks that withered away. In a certain era, there was a person who was the disciple of the unrivaled warrior. That person's talent was acknowledged by the unrivaled warrior, and he wasn't weaker than anyone else. It was also in that era that that person had the potential to unify the Great Thousand World. However, for some reason, he suddenly disappeared. However, in that era, although that person didn't unify the Great Thousand World, no one dared to go against him. That person was the Empress. She didn't truly unify the Great Thousand World, but she could make all the major powers submit to her. If the unrivaled warrior hadn't died in battle, the Empress might have truly been able to unify the Great Thousand World. The era of the Empress has passed, and the unrivaled warrior is dead. What right do you have to be so domineering? The heavenly court's saint said coldly. However, when he looked at Tian Shui, there was still fear in his eyes. Domineering? You haven't seen true domineering, Tian Shui said softly. Her eyes were bloodshot as she shouted, 10 Evil's head division. Wang! The moment she said that, Tian Shui's body glowed with a bloody light. Her hair danced in the wind, and a mask appeared on her face. Under the mask, a terrifying aura of blood gushed out. 3 heads, 6 arms, 6 blades, and 3 swords. It was as if a true Azura had descended. This is the Azura Dao Soul? No, it has evolved. 10 Evil's head division. The heavenly court saint and Jun Yu cried out in surprise, their eyes filled with shock. One had to know that the Azura Dao Soul was similar to a greedy ghost. The slightest bit of carelessness would result in a backlash from the Dao Soul. However, Tian Shui was different. She was truly very powerful. Not only did she not suffer from any backlash, she had even evolved her Dao Soul to its final form. At this moment, Tian Shui charged out. Saber light and sword shadows revolved around her body. Beneath her feet was a sea of blood. Wherever she passed, it was as if purgatory had appeared. So, what if you are from the Empress's clan? I am the Heavenly Court Saint, and I fear no one. The Heavenly Court's Saint shouted, and his body glowed with light. He clenched his fist and rushed over. At the same time, Jinyu also attacked and charged towards San. Tisk TSK, TSK. If they fight, there will be a good show to watch. Jiang Chun, who was watching the battle from afar, was speechless. He did not want to get involved in this matter. Because Tian Shui was seeking revenge, she wouldn't allow Jiang Chen to help her. As for Di San, he was prideful. How could he allow Jiang Chen to help him when he was fighting Jinyu alone? As such, Jiang Chen was happy to be idle. He sat in the air with his legs crossed and watched with interest. Furthermore, Jiang Chen was not worried about Tian Shui and Di San's safety at all. This was because he knew that although the few great virtuous beings were unreliable, they would not run away. Perhaps the few great virtuous beings were watching the battle from somewhere, waiting for an opportunity to strike. This is so satisfying. I didn't expect that girl to be able to fight against the heavenly court saint. Suddenly, a blurry figure appeared beside Jiang Chen. His words carried a trace of mockery. Jiang Chen had already sensed this person. He smiled and said, "Mu Xingyun, your concealment technique is getting more and more profound. I almost didn't discover you." "Ah, nonsense," Mu Xingyun said unhappily. "I can fool everyone in the world, but I can't fool you." "Why? You didn't leave with Nian Chang'e?" Jiang Chen asked. The moment he said this, Mu Xingyun's expression changed. He stared at Jiang Chen. After a few breaths, he asked seriously, "Are you really close to Nian Chang'e? From the godless continent until now, how can we not be close?" Jiang Chen asked back. However, his heart was still tense. He had a premonition that something big had happened. "Nian Chang'e has the aura of the netherworld," Mu Xingyun said seriously. "Perhaps you trusted him too much, so you didn't pay much attention to him. However, I can feel that in the depths of his soul, there is the aura of the netherworld. It is very dense. However, it should be covered by the 72 lotuses." The aura of the netherworld. Jiang Chen was shocked. He could no longer remain calm. He suddenly rose to his feet and looked at Mu Xingyun with a serious expression. "Are you serious? You have to know that there are some things that can't be said carelessly. Do I need to lie to you?" Mu Xingyun said angrily. "Evil spirit Wang Zhong is hostile to us, but not to him. And evil spirit Wang Zhong also has the aura of the netherworld. Moreover, the aura of the netherworld on his soul is very dense. It doesn't seem to be the aura of the netherworld that we know." As soon as these words came out, Jiang Chen's face darkened. Mu Xingyun didn't know about the yin-yang 3 realms. He only knew about the group of netherworld creatures he met in the 9th heaven divine realm. Therefore, Mu Xingyun was very puzzled. The yin-chi of the group of netherworld creatures he met was not as heavy as Nian Chang'e's. "Don't spread this matter, I will solve it," Jiang Chen said solemnly. "Don't tell anyone." "Why?" Mu Xingyun asked. Then he shook his head and said, "Forget it. Do as you wish." Boom! At that moment, there were a few explosions in the distance. Jiang Chen and Mu Xingyun looked back and saw that Di San had been sent flying. Blood spilled everywhere as his body exploded. "What's going on? Di San can't defeat Jinyu?" Mu Xingyun was stunned. He knew some things and could roughly guess the difference in strength between Di San and Jinyu. Logically speaking, Di San should be stronger than Jinyu. But now, oh no, I missed. All of a sudden, Long Dade's voice came from not far away from Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen was stunned when he heard this. Then his eyes flashed as he saw a few Dade hiding in the void. He then looked at Long Dade's hand and saw a terrifying rune shining. Threads of light shot out and landed on Di San's body. "What are you guys doing? You hit the wrong person." At that moment, Di San roared. He had been sent flying and his body had been destroyed. This was not done by Jinyu, but by a few Dade. "You guys look carefully," Jiang Chen said unhappily. He also felt sorry for Di San. Chapter 13-14. Jiang Chen did not even dare to look at Di San's current state. Di San was too pitiful. Even his soul had almost been destroyed. This was only because Di San was strong enough. If it had been an ordinary person, they would not have been able to withstand the combined attacks of several great virtuous beings. Even if a supernatural being were to come, they would probably lose a layer of skin if they were to receive such a blow. Look at what your lackeys have done. You go. D-San's hair stood on end. Half of his soul came to Jiang Qin's side. It was obvious that he did not want to continue fighting. Of course, he could not do anything now. When Jiang Qin heard this, he laughed bitterly and said, "All right, I'll go." He had no choice. After all, these great virtuous beings were Jiang Qin's lackeys. It was good enough that Jiang Qin did not pursue the matter. Now, Jiang Qin could not refuse to help D-San fight against Xinyu. Xinyu's face was full of disdain as he charged towards Jiang Qin with a punch. Jiang Qin's divine power surged as he released his 3 Dao souls. The image of a dragon and a tiger appeared on his body. At this moment, Jiang Qin's fist was covered with purplish gold vines. Golden flames burned on his fist, and there were even wisps of greenish-gray flames dancing around it. When his fist collided with Xinyu's fist, there was a loud explosion. Rays of light exploded between the two of them, and an explosion shook the heavens. What? At this moment, Jiang Qin and Xinyu's expressions changed. They felt a sharp pain from their fists. At the same time, their bodies started to crack, and fresh blood flowed out. Xinyu did not expect Jiang Qin to be so strong with his cultivation level. He could take one of his attacks head-on and not fall. As for Jiang Qin, he was even more shocked. He had used all his strength in that punch, but he had not been able to suppress Xinyu. "You're interesting. You're enough for me to take you seriously," Xinyu said coldly. A pair of purple wings spread out from his back, and his aura increased by a large amount. A rain of light sprinkled down from his body, and he seemed to have ascended to the heavens. There was even a brilliant sun rising above his head. His aura changed. He was like a god standing high up, looking down at Jiang Qin. "Serious? I'm afraid you haven't seen me being serious before," Jiang Qin whispered. The lantern-bearer's possession was like a black shadow supporting his body. A green lamp floated above his head, and streaks of sword radiance shot out in reverse beside him. "Kill! Kill!" At this moment, the two of them roared furiously and collided in midair like a dragon and a phoenix. Boom! Next, the two of them kept throwing out punches and palms. They used all kinds of divine skills and Taoist skills. Both of them were very ferocious. They attacked with all their might, disregarding life and death. "That guy is so strong." D-San was shocked as he watched from afar. He did not expect that Jiang Qin, who was in the hierarch realm, would have such combat strength. "I'm not weaker than him," Mu Xingyin whispered. D-San could not help but admit that Mu Xingyin was strong. This guy's assassination skills had reached perfection. Even cultivators in the same realm as Mu Xingyin would have to be wary of him. Chi! Suddenly, a muffled sound was heard. Tian Shui had chopped off the Heavenly Court Saint's head. Following that, 3 sabers and 6 swords slashed out consecutively, destroying the Heavenly Court Saint's soul. He's really dead? This little girl is too strong. Mu Xingyin and D-San were shocked. They knew that Jiang Qin was strong, but they did not expect Tian Shui to be so strong as well. He was not an ordinary person. He was the true saint of the Heavenly Court. In this world, how many people in the same generation could be his match? He should be able to look down on his peers and even surpass his seniors. But now, he had died just like that. In the end, it's still not as good as this. Tian Shui muttered as she retracted her Dao soul. She then calmly watched the battle between Jiang Qin and Jin Feather. However, before she could watch for long, a few great virtues suddenly charged out from the void. Their god force erupted as they executed their divine abilities, drowning Jin Feather. "You guys don't have any morals," Jin Feather roared. As he spoke, Huang Dade's claw slapped his face. His entire face was scratched open. Following that, Bird Dade and Dragon Dade both charged forward and punched Jin Feather. In a few breaths' time, Jin Feather's body was shattered. Finally, Jin Dade slashed out with his sword and split apart Jin Feather's energy. Even Jin Feather's soul was destroyed. "I say, it wasn't easy for me to have a good battle. Why are you guys interfering?" Jiang Qin said unhappily. He felt extremely sullen in his heart. He had wanted to have a good battle with the top geniuses of this generation and test his own strength. Who would have thought that these great virtues really didn't have any morals? In a head-on battle, they were more lacking in confidence than anyone else. When it came to scheming behind their backs, each of them was more powerful than the other. I say, the two of you better not be led astray. Jiang Chen looked at Jian Dade and Yao Dade and felt a headache coming on. We are acting on behalf of justice. That's right. We can't watch boss get bullied by others. Jian Dade and Yao Dade said with a serious expression. When Jiang Chen heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched. These two great virtues were beyond saving. They had already been led astray. Boss, you weren't the one who slaughtered the living beings not long ago, right? At this moment, Long Dade asked. They had also seen Tianzong and were completely shocked. It wasn't me. It was one of my bodies from a few lifetimes ago. Jiang Chen shook his head. At this point, Jiang Chen's expression changed. He said in a low voice, "It's too late." What do you mean? The few of them were confused. They didn't understand what Jiang Chen meant. However, after a few breaths, they understood. He's here. Jiang Chen, you've slaughtered so many living beings and committed so many massacres. The heavens won't tolerate this. You've gone too far. How many living beings have you slaughtered? Today we'll kill you. At this moment, the surrounding void split open and tens of thousands of living beings appeared. They were all condemning Jiang Chen. At the same time, arrays fell continuously, trapping him and the rest. Jiang Chen, you won't be able to leave this place today. Even if you can, there's no place for you in the outside world. You're too cruel. You must die today. As time passed, more and more people appeared. Their cultivation levels were very high. They were all outstanding talents of the younger generation. Jiang Chen felt guilty. He wanted to explain, but there were too many people around. Everyone was talking nonstop. He didn't even have the chance to interrupt. My boss said that the person isn't him. Long Dade's dragon roar shook the sky. This was the first time he spoke. However, no one cared about him. Everyone's eyes were red with anger. Hurry up and leave, Jiang Chen said in a low voice. There are so many people here. One drop of divine power from each of them is enough to kill us all. Boss, if you want to leave, we'll leave together, Long Dade said seriously. However, as he said this, he had already torn open the void and entered it with the other Dades. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared. Chapter 13-15. The great virtuous virtues ran away quickly. They didn't even take a look at Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen laughed and was very gratified. At this moment, Di San and the others also left. They knew very well that no one could help Jiang Chen this time. If they stayed, they would all die together. Jiang Chen did not blame them, because he knew very well that it was useless no matter who came today. Everyone, can you listen to my explanation? Jiang Chen looked at the people around him and said slowly, if you are willing to give me the immortality elixir, I have a way to get you out of here. Give me the immortality elixir, and I will take you out of here. At this moment, many people were secretly transmitting messages, wanting Jiang Chen's immortality elixir. But what they did not know was that the immortality elixir was the present medicine Dade, and it had run away just now. Jiang Chen, what else do you have to explain? We're not blind. Can't we recognize a person? Today, you are dead. At the same time, the people around him shouted angrily, and some of them had already attacked. In an instant, the attacks all over the sky fell like a storm. The void exploded, and a rain of flowers fell from the sky. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly and looked at the attacks all over the sky. Then he stretched out his middle finger and said, "You are not qualified to kill me." Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, an extremely terrifying aura erupted, suppressing everyone present. Then, everyone saw a woman with a perfect appearance and figure fly over. Wherever she passed, the attacks all over the sky dissipated. Even the people who were standing in the sky trembled and finally fell to the ground one by one like dumplings in a pot. With the strength of one person, she intimidated everyone. If you had not come, I would have been dead. Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. If you had died, that old woman would not have let me go. Ji Ruming said angrily. Jiang Chun was stunned for a moment and then reacted. The old woman that Ji Ruming was talking about was most likely the Empress. He's not the one who massacred the 9-city small world. At that moment, Ji Ruming spoke. She looked at the people around her and said, "There is no need for me to lie to you. After all, with my strength, if I don't want to explain myself to you, I can easily kill you all." The people around were already shocked. A few pinnacle emperors were trembling all over. Under Ji Ruming's aura, they couldn't even move a finger. What kind of cultivation did one have to be able to do this? At the same time, they believed her. After all, it was just as Ji Ruming had said. If she didn't want to explain, then she could kill everyone here. Senior, we believe you, but the person who slaughtered the 9-city small world does look exactly like Jiang Chun. Senior, can you explain who the person who slaughtered the 9-city small world is? A few of the braver ones asked. Why should I explain it to you? Ji Ruming said coldly. As a prehistoric general, how could he explain his high status to these people? In short, it's just one sentence. Do you believe it or not? Then, Ji Ruming glanced at Jiang Chun and said, "Let's go out." "Many thanks," Jiang Chun said in a soft voice. Ji Ruming had really saved his life for what had happened today. However, Ji Ruming waved her hand and said snappily, "What are you thanking me for? Back then, you were the one who saved the world, so why should you thank everyone?" Jiang Chun blushed when he heard this. Although he knew that he was indeed very strong in his previous life and perhaps had saved the world, he didn't do anything. In this life, he really didn't do anything and had lost all his memories. Ji Ruming's words made Jiang Chun feel a little embarrassed. "Senior, what about the Ghoul King Bell?" After a few breaths, after coming out of the 9-city small world, Jiang Chun looked at Ji Ruming with a solemn expression. He knew that the Ghoul King Bell must be eliminated. Otherwise, once the experts of the 3 realms came to the Great Thousand World, this place would become a battlefield. At that time, the Great Thousand World would be shattered, and even the ancestral realm would be implicated. Only by stopping the people of the 3 realms and the 3 Yang realms from coming to the Great Thousand World could they stop this battle. At the same time, Jiang Chun was very angry in his heart. The battle between the 3 realms and the 3 Yang realms had chosen the Great Thousand World as the battlefield. Did they not treat the creatures of the Great Thousand World as humans? It's hard to find him in a short time. Ji Ruming sighed. The Great Thousand World was indeed too big, and Ji Ruming had not recovered to her peak state. It was indeed difficult to find the Ghoul King Bell in a short time. Now, there was no other way. He could only cultivate in peace and return to his peak as soon as possible. The war between the 3 realms and the 3 Yang realms is inevitable. You have to be prepared. Ji Ruming sighed. After saying that, Ji Ruming revealed a smile and looked at Tian Shui, who came out with her. She said, "Let's go and see how that old woman is doing now." Buzz! The moment her voice fell, Jiang Chun and Tian Shui were enveloped by a divine power. Then, a radiance appeared in front of them. After a few breaths, Ji Ruming brought Jiang Chun and Tian Shui into a small world. This small world was not big and was only the size of a football field. There was a hot spring in the small world, and some plants were planted around it. Other than that, there was also a mat. On the mat, the Empress had her eyes closed and seemed to be cultivating. However, at this moment, she suddenly opened her eyes. When she saw Jiang Chun and the other two, her eyes widened, and she seemed to be very surprised. "Old woman, so many years have passed. Why are you still an empress?" Ji Ruming joked and walked to the front of the Empress. Then, she casually laid down on the mat and asked, "What's wrong? Is the Imperial Realm so fascinating?" "You came out?" The Empress was stunned. After sizing up Ji Ruming, she immediately reacted and punched Ji Ruming's head. She said angrily, Are you qualified to call me old woman? It says, you old woman, so many years have passed, and your temper is still so bad. No wonder he rejected you back then, Ji Ruming said. As soon as she said that, Jiang Qin's body trembled. He could feel a killing intent from the Empress at that moment. And this killing intent was actually targeted at Jiang Qin. This has nothing to do with me, Jiang Qin hurriedly said, afraid that he would anger the Empress. Why are you here? The Empress retracted her killing intent and stared at Ji Ruming. The evil spirit king clock has escaped. The battle between the three realms of yin and yang is about to begin. I'm afraid the great thousand world can't be saved. Ji Ruming's expression turned serious. When the Empress heard that, her expression changed greatly. She frowned and said, the ancestral realm has yet to recover. If the battle between the three realms of yin and yang starts now, then the ancestral realm will probably never return. Chapter 13:16. The ancestral realm was also in the Great Thousand World. If the three realms of yin and yang fought in the Great Thousand World, the ancestral realm would definitely be affected. Now, the curse of the ancestral realm had not been lifted, and the whole ancestral realm was fragmented. Once it was affected by the battle between the three realms of yin and yang, it would be difficult for the ancestral realm to return, and it would even be completely destroyed. Now, the only way was to find a way to stop the battle between the three realms of yin and yang and wait for the ancestral realm to return. However, the evil spirit King Bel was nowhere to be found. It was only a matter of time before the experts of the three realms of yin and yang came to the Great Thousand World. When I entered the lake in the misty forest, the dragon vein inside told me to go to the top of the sky and light up the eternal lamp, Jiang Qin said. If I light up the eternal lamp, will the experts of the three realms of yin and yang come? Yes. Ji Ruming nodded and said, whether it's the creatures of the three realms of yin or yang, as long as they come to the Great Thousand World, it's not a good thing for the people of the Great Thousand World. The creatures of the three realms of yin and yang use this place as a battlefield. In their eyes, the creatures of the Great Thousand World are not creatures. They are like dust and ants. If they die, they die. They don't care. The Empress sighed. Jiang Qin heard this and sighed. This was the fundamental difference in strength. If the creatures of the Great Thousand World were strong enough to compete with the three realms of yin and yang, this place would not be used as a battlefield. But now who could change this? We must find the evil spirit King Bel, the Empress said in a deep voice. We must find it even if we have to search the whole Great Thousand World. I don't have time to find it. Ji Ruming frowned and said, I haven't recovered and need to rest. Then I can only go. The Empress said softly, looking helpless. The Empress's identity was not ordinary. The mysterious reincarnation hunter had been looking for her, so under normal circumstances, she would not leave this place. But now, for the evil spirit King Bel, she had to go out. What will happen if the reincarnation hunter finds it? Jiang Qin asked. Oh, are you concerned about her? Ji Ruming laughed and said, you once rejected her, but in this life, I see hope. This? Jiang Qin blushed, but he didn't think in that direction. However, when the Empress heard this, she actually revealed a shy expression. This made Jiang Qin dumbfounded. Logically speaking, the Empress's appearance and figure could really compete with Ji Ruming's. They were even on par. However, the Empress had always been very domineering and gave people a feeling of being high and mighty. Therefore, it was rare to see the Empress like this. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen it before? The Empress glared at Jiang Qin with a smile on her face. She seemed to be in a good mood. Nonetheless, her face soon darkened as she said, something big has happened at the border. The beings from the other worlds are probably about to descend to the great wide world. As soon as these words came out, Ji Ruming's eyes flashed with a fierce light. She knew what was going on in those worlds. Those worlds were worlds that existed between the Great Thousand World and the three Yang realms. They were quite powerful and had always obeyed the three Yang realms since ancient times. Now, Those worlds were marching toward the Great Thousand World and breaking the boundary wall. They were going to take the lead for the three Yang realms. All the extraordinaires have disappeared. They must have received an imperial edict from the Holy Land and went to stop the beings from those worlds, the Empress said. Now, in this world, the Emperor is the king. Oh, the extraordinaires have all left? Jiangchen was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but feel a little excited. With the extraordinaires gone, the Emperor was the highest combat power in the great wide world. In that case, with Jiangchen's current combat power, could he run amok in the great wide world? Even if he couldn't be invincible, he could be fearless of anyone, right? Of course, it was another story for an emperor like the Empress. After all, this woman was too strong. Her strength was famous in prehistory. Take care of yourself. I'm leaving first. After the time it took for half an incense stick to burn past, the Empress packed her things, looked at Jiang Chun reluctantly, and flew away. Jiang Chun was sent out of the small world by Ji Rumeng and asked him to go to the top of the sky quickly. According to Ji Rumeng, if the beings from the three Yang realms really came, then Jiang Chun could only light the eternal bright lantern and ask the people from the three Yang realms to come over. At that time, the beings from the three Yang realms might take care of Jiang Chun because of this matter. They might even take care of the ancestral realm because of this. Of course, this is the worst-case scenario. However, when Jiang Chun came out of the Empress's small world, he was a little confused for a moment. He didn't know where the top of the sky was. Are they all so unreliable? Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. It seemed that he had to find someone to ask for directions. However, before Jiang Chun could go far, a familiar figure appeared in front of him. This person was Nian Chang'e. At the same time, the evil spirit King Bell was also there, standing side by side with Nian Chang'e. At this moment, Jiang Chun was silent. He looked at Nian Chang'e in a daze and didn't know what to say for a moment. He had a lot of questions in his heart, but he didn't know how to ask. To be more precise, Jiang Chun was afraid. He was afraid of losing Nian Chang'e as a brother. I'm a creature from the three Yang realms. After a few breaths, Nian Chang'e opened his mouth and said truthfully, "That's why I can walk together with the evil spirit King Bell." Yes, Jiang Chun nodded. He didn't ask and didn't say anything, only because he knew that since Nian Chang'e came to find him today, it was most likely to explain. I want the beings from the three Yang realms to come here. Nian Chang'e continued. At that time, the beings from the three Yang realms will also come, and this great thousand world may be shattered. And then, Jiang Chun asked, "You and I are not enemies. You don't belong to the three Yang realms, nor the three Yang realms, nor the great thousand world." Nian Chang'e said, "I don't know where you come from, but you stayed in the ancestral realm at the very beginning, so you were half a person from the ancestral realm. I don't belong to any world." Jiang Chun was stunned. This was the first time he heard this. Jiang Chun had thought that he was a person from the six realms and the ancestral realm. But now, listening to Nian Chang'e's words, it seemed that everything was wrong. No one knows where you come from, but you did reincarnate several times, Nian Chang'e said. And in every life, you stopped the battle of the three Yang realms. So, in this life, I'm not strong enough to stop the battle of the three Yang realms? Jiang Chun asked. Or, you came here today to settle things with me? Hearing this, Nian Chang'e smiled bitterly and said, I told you before that you and I are not enemies. You may come from the same world as my master and the human emperor. Nian Chang'e said, then he pointed to the top of his head and said, they're the place above the heavens. Chapter 13:17. Did the heavens really exist? What kind of place was that? Why were so many things related to the heavens? Jiang Chun didn't understand and couldn't figure it out. His memory was incomplete, so he just listened in a daze. He was also quite shocked because only now did he know that the demon emperor and the human emperor actually came from the heavens. Could it be that after they came down from the heavens, one became the lord of the demon world and the other the emperor of the human world? Then, if Jiang Chun also came from the heavens, why did he come to this world? You are the disciple of the demon emperor, and I was your senior brother in one life. Jiang Chun frowned. Then, Are we on the same side or opposite sides? Hearing this, Nian Changa smiled bitterly. He told Jiang Chun that everything he did was according to the will of the Demon Emperor. Follow the will of the Demon Emperors? Jiang Chun frowned and said, the Human Emperor and the Demon Emperor are on the same side. That is to say, the Human Emperor also wants the experts of the three worlds to come here? What is it for? I don't know, I just need to do as I'm told. Nian Changa shook his head. He really didn't know why he wanted the experts of the three worlds to come here. And this time, he just came to remind Jiang Chun not to trust anyone, especially Ji Rumling and the Empress. These two women's words were half true and half false, so don't believe them all. At this moment, Jiang Chun was a little confused. He didn't know who to trust. But Jiang Chun was very clear about one thing. That was, he had come to the ancestral realm and protected it for several lives. So no matter what, no matter who he believed, Jiang Chun absolutely had to protect the ancestral realm. As for the battle in the three worlds, Jiang Chun didn't care, and he didn't have the strength to do so at present. If one day, you and I really become enemies, what will you do? Jiang Chun stared at Nian Changa and asked. Nian Changa was stunned for a moment, as if he didn't expect Jiang Chun to ask so directly. He fell silent. After a few breaths, he smiled bitterly and said, then let's fight. I hope that day won't come. Jiang Chun sighed. In the end, Nian Changa and the Ghost King clock left. Jiang Chun also didn't tell the Empress and Ji Rumling about this matter. Jiang Chun himself felt that Ji Rumling and the Empress had too many secrets. Just as Nian Changa had said, the Empress and Ji Rumling's words couldn't be fully believed. Without the extraordinaires, the vast thousand realms, Jiang Chun muttered softly. His eyes shone brightly. He knew that his chance had come. On this day, Jiang Chun went to many places. He even released a message in the black market, summoning Jiang Lu and the others to gather at Heavenly Garden. At the same time, the various major forces were also secretly taking action. The once hostile forces had reconciled and even formed an alliance at this moment, all because they felt the seriousness of the matter. The vanguard of the Yang Three Realms had already arrived. If the extraordinaires of the vast thousand realms couldn't stop them, then the vast thousand realms would have to change owners. For the sake of their own inheritance, many forces had to join forces, hoping to get a chance of survival in the upcoming chaotic world. What kind of world is this? The Dark Blood era is about to begin, and the vanguard of the Yang Three Realms is about to arrive. Is the vast thousand realms coming to an end? It's too terrifying. Perhaps after this era, the vast thousand realms will no longer exist. The creatures of the vast thousand realms were trembling. Even those who had lived for countless years were frightened. They seemed to see the future of the vast thousand realms. Darkness and blood covered everything. Have they all left? Even the dean has left? At this moment, Jiang Chun returned to Heavenly Garden. When he saw the empty back mountain, he couldn't help but sigh. Hong Yun was gone, and so was the dean. Now, the person in charge of Heavenly Garden was just an emperor. Jiang Chun didn't know if they would be able to come back, but he hoped to see them again. He sat alone in front of the mountain gate of Heavenly Span Gardens. No one knew what he was thinking as he waited quietly. A day later, a young man tore out of the void. His whole body was shining with a golden light, and the blood chi in his body soared into the sky, tearing the clouds apart. Boss! The young man rushed to Jiang Chun's side with excitement and gave him a fierce bear hug. Kid, your strength has increased greatly. Jiang Chun looked at Jiang Lu, knowing that this guy would definitely be the first to arrive. After all, this was his closest brother in this life. Jiang Chun dared to believe in one thing. Everyone in the world might betray him, but Jiang Lu would never. Master, you finally missed us. Master, hug. After another half a day, Bai Fingyu, Naylan Mayer, and Hua Liani also arrived. Jiang Chun was surprised. He thought to himself, how come these three guys are together? Moreover, from the looks of it, they seem to be getting along very well. Master, did you miss me? Hua Liani walked to Jiang Chun's side and wrapped her arms around Jiang Chun's neck. Her beautiful face was slightly red, and there was a trace of shyness in her eyes. One had to know that Hualiani was the only one among these disciples who had slept with Jiang Chun. "Come down, so many people are watching," Jiang Chun said seriously, but this time he didn't push Hualiani away. This time, Bai Fengyu and Naylan Mayer were unhappy. Bai Fengyu was Jiang Chun's eldest disciple, and Naylan Mayer was the second disciple. In the end, Hualiani, the third disciple, beat them to it. At this moment, the two of them didn't pretend anymore. They immediately rushed over and hugged Jiang Chun from both sides. Jiang Chun was embarrassed, but he didn't let go because he had a lot of emotions in his heart. "Perhaps this is life." Jiang Chun sighed. "Scumbag, why did I acknowledge you as my master back then?" At this moment, the ninth heaven also came and stood at the side and sneered coldly. However, when she looked at Jiang Chun now, there was no anger or killing intent in her eyes. She remembered now that it was Jiang Chun who had saved her life. "Boss, we're here." After another 5 minutes, all the virtuous beasts arrived, including Jian Dade and Yao Dade, who had just joined the virtuous family. At this moment, the outside of the mountain gate of Tongtian Garden was very lively. The disciples in Tongtian Garden also came over. When they saw Jiang Chun and the others, their eyes were filled with disgust and contempt. After all, in their eyes, the living beings from the 6 realms were all inferior living beings. However, there were also people who were shocked because the aura emitted by Jiang Chun and the others was too powerful. In an era without extraordinaries, Jiang Chun and the others could be said to be the peak combat power of this world. "Boss!" At this moment, an earth-shattering roar came from afar. Then, a gloomy and cold aura exploded and covered the sky like a glacier. At the same time, a young man stepped on the air. Wherever he passed, the void trembled as if an ice god had descended. Chapter 13:18. This person was too powerful. Although he was only a lower emperor, the aura he emitted was too terrifying. Even Jiang Chun was stunned for a long time, as if he couldn't believe what he saw. "Xiao Qingyi?" After a few breaths, Jiang Chun reacted with a look of surprise. Not long ago, Gu Ling came into being, invaded Xiao Qingyi's body, and escaped. At that time, Jiang Chun felt that it would be difficult for him to see Xiao Qingyi again in his life. After all, Gu Ling was too powerful. Even a half-immortal couldn't suppress him. But now, who would have thought that Xiao Qingyi would return? "Are you okay?" Jiang Chun asked worriedly. It was a blessing in disguise. Xiao Qingyi smiled and said, "Gu Ling wanted to devour me and occupy my body, but he didn't expect that my soul had already turned into a withered soul. It was difficult for him to devour me." "And then? Where's Gu Ling?" Jiang Chun said in surprise. "And then? Then I slowly tortured him to death." Xiao Qingyi said, "His strength and essence are now mine." With that, Xiao Qingyi raised his hand and waved. An extremely terrifying power erupted, and the Tao techniques in the world trembled. "It's good that you're back," Jiang Chun said softly. He was naturally very happy. However, a trace of sadness soon appeared in Jiang Chun's heart. It was because he knew that it was impossible for the group of people to have a smooth journey ever since they entered the upper-class world, and it was impossible for all of them to survive. After all, there were a few people who he might never see again in the future. However, Jiang Chun didn't say it out loud. He knew that there was no need to talk about some sadness. "They're all here?" Half a day later, a purple light flickered in the sky. It was as if purple chi came from the east. There was also a domineering aura spreading out, shattering the clouds. "Wakako is here?" This guy can be considered the #1 warrior underboss. Many people had strange expressions. They were very clear about Wakako's strength. The only person Wakako trusted in his life was probably Jiang Chun. "Oh, looks like you guys are doing pretty well." After arriving here, Wakako felt like he was looking down on everyone. Even when he faced Xiao Qingyi, there was no shock in his eyes. After all, he was really too strong, and his heart was domineering. He had never submitted to anyone. However, when he looked at Jiang Chun, he couldn't help but lower his head slightly and respectfully call out, "Boss." Without waiting for Jiang Chun to speak, Wakako's face darkened and he said directly, "Your cultivation level is the lowest here?" This. Jiang Chun was at a loss for words. He didn't know what to say. "Don't worry. I'll protect you from now on." Wakako was very domineering. He patted his chest and said, without the extraordinaires, "How many emperors in this world can compete with me? Wakako, you are still the same as before." Jianglu smiled foolishly. "Real? Silly girl, you become quite strong too." Wakako teased, "Why? Do you want to have a fight?" Jianglu was very honest. He looked at Jiang Chun and seemed to be asking for Jiang Chun's opinion. Jiang Chun immediately shook his head. What a joke. If these two fought, it would probably take 10 days to half a month. After all, one was the eternal sacred body, and the other was the tyrant body. They were the two strongest sacred bodies. If these two fought, it would be a simple hand-to-hand fight. With the cultivation level of emperors, if they fought hand-to-hand, it would take at least 10 days to half a month to determine the winner. Moreover, the current environment was not very good. Jiang Chun didn't call them over to spar with each other. Where are the others? After a few breaths, they had enough fun and sat together outside the mountain gate. Jianglu looked at everyone and asked with a puzzled expression. As soon as he said that, the group fell silent. In fact, not only did Jiang Chun understand, but the others also understood. Some people might not be able to meet in this lifetime. Some people might still be able to meet, but some... Jiang Chun sighed. The world was so cruel. Joys and sorrows always came so quickly and so unexpectedly. It made people sad, but it was difficult to cry. Oh, this is the way the world is. The weak are prey to the strong. If the 6 realms weren't so weak back then, we wouldn't have fallen to this point. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded in everyone's ears. Everyone was shocked because they didn't even notice that someone was approaching them. Jiang Chun was the only one who looked calm. He said with a smile, "I knew you would come." As soon as his voice fell, Mu Xingyun's figure appeared. He said with a faint smile, "The 6 realms are gone. We are all from the same family. You, as the big brother, have issued a summons. How can I not come, although I'm not your little brother?" Mu Xingyun? At this moment, Wakako and Jianglu stood up directly. They knew the relationship between Jiang Chun and Mu Xingyun. They were really old enemies. However, Jiang Chun waved his hand and said, "There's no need to fight. If I really want to fight with him, it will be a one-on-one fight. There's no need for you to interfere." 2 idiots. Mu Xingyun didn't give Wakako and Jianglu any face. There was no fear in his eyes. He sat down calmly and asked, "What's wrong? What are you going to do?" When Jiang Chun heard this, his expression became serious and he said in a deep voice, "I think you should know that the transcendents of the great wide world have all left to resist the vanguard of the 3 realms. Now, there are no transcendents in the great wide world for the time being. You want to avenge the 6 realms?" Mu Xingyun asked. Jiang Chun nodded. When the 6 realms were destroyed, so many living beings were killed. This hatred had long been formed. Now, it was time to settle the score. With just a few of us? Jianglu was still so naive and blunt. This was not to destroy their morale, but it was definitely impossible for them to avenge the dead living beings of the 6 realms. One had to know that even if there were no transcendents in the great wide world, there were still many emperors. Not to mention tens of thousands, there were at least a few thousand. On Jiang Chen's side, there were not many people. How could they take revenge? "I think you've misunderstood," Mu Xingyun explained. Back then, the destruction of the 6 realms was not the intention of all the forces in the great wide world. It was just a few individual forces. If we want to take revenge, there are only a few forces we have to deal with. After saying that, Mu Xingyun stretched out a hand and said, "The Black Buddha lineage, the 6-winged Sky Clan, the True Feather Clan, the Heavenly Court, and the Red Spider Lily. These 5 forces are the real culprits behind the destruction of the 6 realms. If we want to take revenge, we only need to find these forces." Hearing this, Everyone's expressions could not help but become solemn. Although there were only 5 forces, these 5 forces combined could completely cover the sky in the great wide world. The Black Buddha lineage was another sect of Buddhism. Its foundation was so deep that it might not be weaker than the heavenly court. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.